major illness. I don't know how we pay for that.
The U.S. House just passed billions in tax rebates for big corporations while leaving laid-off workers to struggle. Now it's up to Senator Smith. Tell him we can't lift our economy if we leave working families behind.
I don't know what's going to happen. No idea.
Ted and Sharon here. It's our favorite time of year. Gift time! Time to go to Ralph's. Talk about great gifts. Looking good, Dad. Look at what my mom got. Sharon like. Right, Mom?
Right.
Nice sweater, Grandma. These guys really cleaned up.
Gift time at Ross. Big savings for the whole family.
Jimmy loves his new bowl. And we didn't do badly either.
Ross, much more than low prices.
That's a wrap.
At Tough Shed, we want you to compare the difference of our storage buildings and garages, and you'll know why Tough Shed is #1 with the industry's only 7-year warranty. Tough Shed's double-wide carports now available at $19.99 installed. Standard 10x12 ranch installed as low as $17.15, and 20x20 2-car garages as low as $82.50. Tough Shed at 68th at I-84. Call 288-TOUGH. That's 288-TUFF.
Good morning. What happened to American Airlines Flight 587? The jet crashed minutes after takeoff from New York's Kennedy Airport, plunging into a Queens neighborhood. All 260 people on board were killed. At least 6 on the ground are still missing. The tragedy is being investigated as an accident today, Tuesday, November 13th, 2001.
From NBC News, this is a special edition of Today, the crash of American Airlines Flight 587, with Katie Couric and Matt Lauer.
And good morning. Welcome to Today on this Tuesday morning. We have a split program for you this morning. I'm Matt Lauer in Bell Harbor, Queens, where Flight 587 crashed about 22 hours ago into a group of houses about a block and a half behind me. The destruction devastating. I took a tour of the impact site just a few minutes ago, and Katie, I'll be telling you about what I saw in just a second. But first, let me come back to Studio 1A because I know there's other major news coming from Afghanistan this morning, Katie.
That's right, Matt. In fact, stunning news of the Taliban retreat from the capital city of Kabul. Afghans celebrated the withdrawal of the Taliban troops, many shaving off their Taliban-mandated beards. Some Northern Alliance troops have entered the city. When the Taliban troops left the capital, they reportedly took 8 foreign aid workers with them, including 2 Americans. We're going to go live to Kabul in just a moment and tell you what this new development means. Matt?
All right, Katie, thank you. Right now, officials believe they have accounted for all of the people on board American Airlines Flight 587, 260 people killed. They believe there were 255 ticketed passengers, perhaps 5 unticketed infants riding on passengers' laps. Between 6 and 9 people on the ground are unaccounted for. However, officials have now said that they've recovered 265 bodies, which leads you to believe that they have found 5 people who were killed on the ground. A short time ago, I took a tour of the impact area, and it is startling. There is a shallow crater now. Officials have been sifting through debris and clearing wreckage all night long. The area that's impacted is about a 50-yard square area, and what's startling, Katie, is that it's so random. There is a building 50 feet from the center of the impact zone, a house that doesn't even have a broken window or a scratch on it. An amazing random act of violence and destruction in this Queens neighborhood. NBC's aviation expert is Bob Hager. He's been covering the story all day long. Bob, good morning.
Morning, Matt. Well, overnight, investigators listened to that cockpit voice recorder, and they say it has nothing on it to indicate a hijacking, no sounds of any struggle in the cockpit. So at this point, they believe that this was an accident, something just extraordinary that caused this plane to break up in flight, but they don't yet know what. New pictures from shortly after the crash show the ferocity of the impact. Smoke spewing from wreckage strewn over a wide area. Firemen swarm over the scene as the grim job of body recovery proceeds. Meantime, investigators arrived in Washington bearing the recovered cockpit voice recorder. And after a first listen by technicians, NTSB board member George Black has this to report.
There's no evidence on it to indicate a problem not associated with an aviation accident.
Specifically, no noise of anyone in the cockpit other than the plane's crew. NTSB Chairman Marion Blakey.
There are only the voices on the cockpit voice recorder of the pilot and co-pilot.
Late last night, investigators said the plane had been airborne for less than 2 minutes as it climbed out from Kennedy Airport, banked to the left, and then suddenly began falling with no call of distress from the crew, smashing into 4 houses below, damaging several others. Eyewitnesses said pieces of the plane dropped off as it fell.
The engine was coming off the plane. The engine came right down with a lot of debris following behind it.
On the ground, the plane's engines were found blocks from the fuselage. And a large piece of the plane's tail was also found separate from the fuselage, hauled up from the waters of Jamaica Bay. This is the actual plane that crashed, seen here on an earlier occasion. It was 14 years old, about midlife for a plane. It had had a quick maintenance check Sunday and a more detailed one last month. Its engines were a General Electric model, CF6s, widely used popular engines, but investigators say they have been watching them after some previous cases of in-flight breakups. At Kennedy Airport, stunned relatives of the victims led away. And here, reaction in Santo Domingo. Most of those aboard the plane were from the Dominican Republic.
For a while last night, there was a report that the plane's other black box, the flight data recorder, had been found, but that turned out to be wrong. It's still missing, and if it's in the water where that tail section is, investigators might have to bring in special equipment to listen for its underwater pinger in order to find it, Matt.
Let's talk about why this plane broke apart in the air. You mentioned the engines were found blocks away from the actual fuselage, and the tail section found in the bay several blocks away.
Very puzzling that it's spread out that much. No big signs of charring or anything like that on the wreckage, and it takes a substantial something to break that tail off. I mean, that's a big part. So that's very puzzling this morning.
And again, investigators need to find that data recorder.
Well, I'm betting that the cockpit voice recorder, you know, maybe they didn't know what was going on. They just hear the voices on that, so there wouldn't be much there, maybe. But the flight data recorder would show you what the plane was doing, which way it's pointed, up and down, and things like that. Maybe you can tell something from it.
And quickly, Bob, from the cockpit, the pilots would have understood that they may have had a fire in an engine, but they may not have known that that engine had actually fallen from the plane.
Oh, no, I wouldn't think they would, because you wouldn't be able to turn around that fast, and I don't think that they could see it from the cockpit either. So what they've got is some instrumentation that tells them fire in the engine, if the instrumentation was still there. It could have come apart so catastrophically that it cut off all the indicators in the cockpit, too.
NBC's Bob Hager. Bob, thanks very much. We're going to have much more from Queens, Katie, in a few minutes. We'll also talk to New York's Mayor Rudolph Giuliani. Back to you.
All right, Matt, thank you very much. George Black is with the National Transportation Safety Board. He joins us this morning from Bell Harbor, New York. Mr. Black, good morning.
Good morning.
I know that you just said in Bob Hager's piece there's no evidence on the cockpit voice recorder to indicate a problem not associated with an aviation accident. What precisely were you listening for?
Well, we would be listening for something unusual on the recorder. And again, as I said, everything there was the sort of thing that we would expect to hear. So it would be something unusual that wasn't there.
So you were talking about like a third party, somebody who was on the plane, even a hijacker perhaps you were listening for?
Yes, of course, and you'd expect the crew to be talking about something if something unusual was occurring.
But I was going to say the only voices heard on that recorder were those of the pilot and co-pilot, correct?
That's correct.
But that does not exclude the possibility of sabotage.
It does not, and that's the reason that we're cooperating with the FBI in this investigation, and we have a joint team effort. Evidence is being guarded as it would be in a criminal investigation, and we've done this before. So we're not going to exclude that possibility until the investigation goes much further than this, but right now there's no evidence.
What other factors, Mr. Black, seem to indicate, in your view, some kind of catastrophic mechanical problem?
Well, the distribution of wreckage that Bob was talking about is unusual. It indicates that pieces were coming off the airplane very shortly after takeoff. The flight was only 2 minutes or so long. So to have pieces in the bay and the two engines not co-located with the fuselage does indicate something went seriously wrong very quickly in the flight.
Any plausible explanation for what might have caused the wreckage to be so widely dispersed at this point in time?
There really isn't. The data recorder will give us a lot of that information. We also have all of the radar data from the area, several sites, That information is being plotted as we speak, and radar will pick up relatively small pieces of the airplane, and when we sort that information out, we'll have another idea about how the airplane came apart.
American Airlines said the left engine was recently overhauled. The right was about due for maintenance after nearly 10,000 hours of operation. Do you think that something might have gone wrong during that engine's overhaul? Will you be carefully looking at that and even checking out who might have been near the plane during that overhaul process?
We certainly will be. We'll be looking at the records, and then each of the engines will be taken to another location and completely disassembled and inspected. So we'll have the records, and then we'll have the actual engines, which are in pretty good shape. One of them is in very good shape, and the other is partially burned and broken, but we'll be able to find anything catastrophic associated with the engines pretty quickly, I think.
Well, Mr. Beck, let's talk about those engines for a moment. They're called CF6 model jet engines. The FAA warned just last month that its own study of problems with these engines indicate a need for tougher mandatory inspections of possibly worn parts. And they set a 60-day period for industry feedback that was to end on December 4th. And it called the current risk an unsafe condition. And the NTSB, your agency, warned separately less than a year ago that a failure in flight of these engines, which could send hot metal fragments tearing through important control systems or fuel lines, could cause a plane to crash. Tell me about that and why more wasn't done in a faster manner in terms of checking these engines if, in fact, they were so problematic.
Well, I believe the recommendation that led to the recommendation that led to the FAA's action came from the safety board as a result of our looking at an incident, not an accident. We will be looking for those sorts of things in our teardown of the engines. As for the timing, there are hundreds of the engines out, and they have to be cycled through the maintenance process, and the FAA allowed a certain amount of time to do that.
How concerned are you, though, about other planes that have this engine, if they might have similar problems in the future?
Well, we're always concerned about any possible engine failure because that's obviously what keeps the airplane up. But the person who helped in writing those recommendations is here on the scene, and we'll be looking at just those things today.
All right. George Black of the National Transportation Safety Board. Again, Mr. Black, thanks very much.
Thank you.
It is 7:11. Once again, here's Matt.
All right, Katie, thank you very much. Bell Harbor is in a section of Queens called the Rockaways, about 15 miles from Midtown Manhattan. This area was devastated by the September 11th attack on the World Trade Center. 70 people who live in this community were killed in those attacks. Not only people who worked at the World Trade Center, but police and firefighters and emergency medical personnel who responded to the attack and were killed trying to help other people. Now this community is grieving again. NBC's David Bloom is standing just a few blocks from me here in Bell Harbor. He has more on that. David, good morning.
Good morning, Matt. As you say, this is a tightly knit community where they've spent the past 2 months burying their firefighters, their police officers, their Cantor Fitzgerald traders. Now authorities believe they've recovered the bodies of at least 5 people killed on the ground, at least 1 woman, perhaps others still missing. Home video obtained exclusively by NBC News, taken moments after the crash. The plane's wreckage is burning more than half a city block. White linen covers the bodies of those who died aboard Flight 587, taken away on red and yellow gurneys to a makeshift morgue. On the ground, 4 houses destroyed, 8 more damaged. At least 6 people killed in their homes. In this small section of Queens, which lost close to 90 people in the World Trade Center attack, it's almost too much to take, especially for the firefighters who've been burying their brethren for the past 2 months.
It'll be too soon before it happens again. I just don't want to even deal with it anymore. I just want to go crawl in a hole and just kind of be with my family and kiss my wife and say hello. That's it.
Eyewitness Matthew Mead.
There's probably on every block here there's somebody that passed away from the World Trade Center.
It's a middle-class, mostly Irish Catholic neighborhood. 57 local students attend a Brooklyn Catholic girls' school, where 3 people were lost in the World Trade Center attack, and now 3 more in Monday's plane crash.
It's almost incredible that we're going to face this again.
2 young girls at the school lost their mother and their brother when the plane destroyed their home.
I think these young women, hopefully with the help of family and friends, will be fine adults. But right now, it's a terrible, tender moment in their lives, and we're there to support them.
No official list of those missing, but the people in this neighborhood know who's gone, including that mother and her law school student son. Their daughters attend that Catholic girls' school. Matt, back to you.
All right, David, thank you very much. NBC's David Bloom. New York's mayor is Rudy Giuliani. He joins us now from City Hall. Mr. Mayor, good morning to you.
Good morning.
I have to imagine that when you heard of the crash of 587 yesterday, you had to think not again.
Sure, absolutely. Of course, the minute I was notified of it, that a plane crashed into the Rockaways, you end up assuming that it's very similar to what happened 2 months ago, and you have to prepare yourself for it. So we acted on the assumption that this was going to be part of an attack. The police department, FBI reacted that way, and then just hoped and prayed that that wasn't the case, and it turned out that it wasn't, but it made sense to take the precautions that were taken.
You say it turned out that it wasn't. Have you now completely ruled out an act of terrorism?
No. It turned out that there wasn't going to be any repeated attack yesterday. I have no basis on which to rule out or rule in anything. The investigation is still going on, and they have to really complete it. What I meant was, in figuring out the plan for yesterday, when the crash first took place, the assumption the police had to make, and I had to make, was there would be other attacks. So we protected other parts of New York City. We closed down parts for a couple of hours until we got a better sense of whether or not anything else was involved. We got air cover, made sure we were properly planning with the federal government and the state government.
I know you spoke to President Bush. You did request air cover. What else did you talk to the president about?
Well, the president said very quickly, as I was on the street at the time in Rockaway as the fire was going on, he said, New York City is really being tested. It's a shame. This has to happen. And I said, Mr. President, we're up to the test. We'll figure out how to get through this as we have in the past. This community is a wonderful and beautiful community. I mean, Rockaway is part of the heart and soul of the city, and they've gotten hit very, very hard in the World Trade Center. A disproportionate number of the deaths have taken place from that community because we have so many police officers, firefighters, people that work in the Wall Street area. But it's a very, very strong community. It's a community of great religious faith, and we're just going to have to pull together even tighter now.
Early estimates, Mr. Mayor, are that 150 of the passengers on board the plane were Dominicans. Have you had any contact with officials in the Dominican Republic?
Sure. I talked to the President of the Dominican Republic, the Ambassador, the Consul General. I spent a great deal of time with them last night at Kennedy Airport and with the families that are affected. I would have thought it would have been more than that, but just looking at the manifest. But the reality is that the vast majority of people on that flight were Dominican or Dominican Americans who, going back and forth between the country of their birth and now the United States, where many of them now live and become citizens. Also a very wonderful, very strong, very hard-working community, and done wonderful things in Washington Heights for the city of New York and other parts of the city.
All right, New York's Mayor Rudy Giuliani. Mr. Mayor, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Let's go back to Studio 1A and Katie.
Okay, Matt, thanks very much. Now the latest on those stunning developments in Afghanistan, the fall of Kabul. During the night, Taliban forces pulled out and the Northern Alliance moved in. NBC's Tom Aspel is in Kabul and joins us by video phone. Tom, good morning.
Good morning, Katie. Kabul has fallen to the Northern Alliance. The takeover has been largely peaceful. Taliban troops and their leaders are nowhere to be seen. Northern Alliance troops marched into the Afghan capital at sunrise. The Taliban had fled during the night, taking with them 8 aid workers, including 2 Americans. People awoke to find Northern Alliance troops already moving through the streets, taking up positions on main intersections and outside government buildings. They were greeted with shouts of welcome and waves from Kabul's civilian population, some threw flowers. The U.S. and its allies, fearing atrocities, asked the Northern Alliance to stop short of Kabul, but the victors paid no attention. Many spread throughout the city looking for Taliban stragglers and their supporters. But the Taliban had left during the night, taking tanks and armored vehicles, taxis and buses, heading south for Kandahar, the Taliban stronghold where the movement was founded. Reports said they were also leaving Kandahar, heading for the mountains of South Afghanistan. This has been a surprisingly quiet takeover. The next step will be to form a provisional government to run the country. The fall of Kabul means the net around Osama bin Laden and the al-Qaeda terrorist network is tightening. U.S. forces will look for him now in the south of the country. The U.S. and its allies were afraid of atrocities if the Northern Alliance took Kabul, but so far there is no evidence of any wrongdoing. Katie?
All right, Tom, what about Mullah Omar, the head of the Taliban? Any word on his whereabouts?
We are hearing reports now, Katie, that the last two Taliban strongholds of Kandahar and Jalalabad may have already fallen, and there are reports in Kabul saying that Mullah Omar is in Pakistan. Katie?
All right, Tom Axel. Tom, thanks very much for that report. It is 7:19. Now here's Al Roker with a check of the weather. Good morning.
Good morning, Katie. We got a lot of wet weather to talk about, especially in the Pacific Northwest, where they're going to get hit later this afternoon with as much as 3 to 4 inches of rain and gale force winds. A lot of wet weather also along the Georgia and make that Florida coast. And we've got some rain in the Rockies as well, with some rain also along the western Great Lakes. Here in the Northeast, looking pretty sunny, but chilly. That's what's going on around the country. Here's what's happening in your neck of the woods.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to a Tuesday, and what promises to be a very wet Tuesday. Now, our Northwest Sky Cam at Timberline Lodge showing cloudy skies, few rain showers up there, and we will see rain in the Oregon Cascades heavy at times later on today, and down here in the Willamette Valley and along the ocean beaches as well, as this system right here races across the Pacific Ocean and comes onshore later on today. So here's the forecast for you. Cloudy skies and rain increasing this afternoon, and some gusty winds as well. Our high 56 degrees.
That's your latest weather. Now back to Katie.
Okay, Al, thanks very much. It's 7:20. We'll be back in a moment. This is Today on NBC.
Old Mr. Gringo is soon gonna jingle the bells that'll tingle all your troubles away. Everybody's waiting for the man with the bag, 'cause Christmas is coming again. He's got a sleigh full, it's not gonna stay full. He's got stuff to drop at every stop of the way. Everybody's waiting for the man with the bag, 'cause Christmas is coming again. Christmas is here again.
And, I'll take one of those things.
Parisian mocha flake?
Yeah.
Like every Subaru, the Forester comes with all-wheel drive standard. The Ford Escape doesn't. The Forester comes with ABS standard. The Escape doesn't. And in independent crash tests, the Forester received the highest rating. The Escape was rated simply marginal.
Nice car.
What do I look like? A dummy?
Subaru Forester, a smarter way to build an SUV.
Now you can get an APR as low as 2.9% on all 2002 Forester models.
Tonight,
we're going to overcome this, and we're not going to let this bring our nation down.
the Olympic dream won't be the same for these Northwest athletes. Hear how their lives have changed. Tonight at 11 on News Channel 8, where the news comes first.
Next on the Get Real Challenge, Dr. Phil lasers in on Amanda.
Tell me about this abusive relationship. Does he yell and scream at you?
Yes.
Did he call you names? When's it going to stop, Amanda?
Next, Oprah.
Today at 4 on News Channel 8.
Down that block where American Airlines Flight 587 crashed yesterday morning. Coming up, we'll talk to a man who pitched in to do what he could in the aftermath of that crash, even as he continued to grieve for his son who was killed in the World Trade Center attacks on September 11th.
But first, these messages and your local news.
We make products that work in your home. We wait until we've got a product that's better than what's out there, that the consumer can see the difference in. Then we'll go to market. It's a duty to our heritage, and it's a duty to our consumer. I'm certain that what we are doing now not only will go into the next generation, but the generation after that.
S.C. Johnson, a family company.
Lucy, she's my little girl, but I have to take care of her too. Yeah, because I like to make sure that she eats healthy. You know, wholesome grains for energy and a shiny coat. Real beef for protein to help build strong muscles. Even vegetables with vitamins. She only thinks she's getting spoiled.
Healthful, flavorful, Beneful. New Beneful brand by Purina.
Capture the light. Capture the glow. Capture a whole new way to brighten your skin. Introducing Skin Lights. 5 new light effects that illuminate your skin instead of covering it up. Introducing Revlon Skin Lights.
Hey, Mom. Dad wants to know what's for dinner.
Tell him nothing until he apologizes to me.
Mom said no dinner until you apologize.
Forget it. She owed me the apology.
Dad says he's really sorry. He wants to take us to McDonald's to make up for it.
He said that?
Yeah. Mom says you were right. She thinks we should go to McDonald's.
Really?
I'm sorry.
No.
Can we please go to McDonald's now?
What do you give? What gift can possibly say thank you to your best friend, accountant and massager of shoulders and egos? You might want to start with this. A K Jewelers 3-stone diamond necklace with a free picture frame gift box. And you can be assured of 2 things. First, the K diamonds are hand-selected for exceptional beauty. And second, that she'll absolutely love it.
Every kiss begins with K.
I've always liked natural things. That's why I use Beano. Only Beano helps prevent gas from problem foods with a natural food enzyme. It's not a drug. So if you prefer natural ingredients like I do, prevent gas with Beano.
I see skies of blue and clouds of white, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Discover the world of Estee Lauder pleasures. Now, the holiday gift no one can resist. All the trimmings, a makeup collection with more than 30 fabulous ways to sparkle and shine. Yours for $45 with any Estee Lauder fragrance purchase. Now at Meyer & Frank.
There's one brand of truck strong enough to carry the American spirit. Chevrolet. And right now, get 0% financing on every new truck we build. Silverado, Tahoe, Suburban, Trailblazer. The trucks behind a country that never quits. And you can own one, interest-free. Keep America rolling. See your local Chevy dealer today. News Channel 8 can also be seen on these local translators. This is a News Channel 8 update.
And good morning, everyone. I'm Russ Lewis. It is 7:27 now, 50 degrees outside downtown, and here's what's making news on this Tuesday. No matter where they're headed, the highway seems to be the most popular route for Thanksgiving travelers this year. According to the latest AAA survey, 87% of those leaving for the holiday plan to drive. That's the highest number of car travelers AAA has ever seen. More people are also calling Amtrak right now, asking about trains, but they're apparently not booking because ticket sales remain about average. Well, it's been 5 months since someone won Oregon's Megabucks lotto game, but this morning you could be $15 million richer, that is if you play, because someone matched all 6 winning numbers last night. So grab your ticket. Here are those numbers: 5, 7, 8, 9, 23, and 38. Match all 6, you get $15 million before taxes, of course. Let's check in with Bill Diaz now for a look at the traffic. Bill, good morning.
Hey, Russ, good morning. We want to warn you, it's pretty slow inbound on I-84 now from Gateway most of the way down to I-5. Same thing with the Sunset Highway. We've got quite a bit of slow traffic. Westbound slows at 217 out past Cedar Hills. Inbound slows up to the top of the hill. I-5 northbound is also heavy. Slow traffic from Taylor's Ferry through those Terwilliger curves. Live from the ODOT Traffic Command Center, I'm Bill Diaz. Now with the forecast, here is Big Dave Selesky.
Bill, thanks very much. And cloudy skies are back in over the area, folks. And along with the clouds that will be increasing throughout the morning, this system right here is going to bring a lot of rain on shore later on this morning and into the afternoon hours. And then by this evening, besides the rain, heavy at times, some very strong gusty winds. Outside right now, the current conditions look like this. Clouds overhead, some breaks in the overcast, and 50 degrees. Our forecast calls for clouds and rain developing and a high today of 56. Russ?
Thank you, Dave. Have a good morning, everyone.
It was named Most Beautiful Car in the World by the Italian press and Best Value in its class by Strategic Vision.
And after outselling the Mercedes C-Class all summer, it's ready to take on winter.
The Volvo S60, available now with electronically controlled all-wheel drive. It adheres to everything but convention.
It's very clear our love is here to stay.
Heading home for the holidays? For a limited time, take along the security of 7-year or 100,000-mile powertrain protection on any new Chrysler vehicle. Plus, through November 19th, 0% APR on select 2002 models.
We're here. Our love is here to stay.
We are back at 7:30 on this Tuesday morning. It is the 13th day of November, the year 2001. You are looking at the aftermath in Bell Harbor in Queens, the site of Monday's tragic crash of American Airlines Flight 587. I'm Katie Couric here in Studio 1A. Matt Lauer is in Bell Harbor this morning, just a couple of blocks from the crash site. And coming up in this half hour, there is also big news out of Afghanistan this morning, where Kabul has fallen to the Northern Alliance. We're going to go live to Islamabad, where the father of an American aid worker in Afghanistan is trying to find out the fate of his daughter, reportedly taken by the Taliban when they fled Kabul. Matt?
Katie, thank you. This community obviously is in a state of shock, and like so many families in this neighborhood, Mary and Patrick Sullivan lost loved ones in the World Trade Center attack back on September 11th. Their son Patrick Jr. and their nephew both worked at Cantor Fitzgerald on the 104th floor of the North Tower. Both were killed in the attack, and yesterday Patrick Sr. jumped in to do what he could in the aftermath of the crash of American Airlines Flight 587. Mr. and Mrs. Sullivan, good morning. First, my condolences to you on your loss over the last couple of months.
Thank you, Matt.
Mr. Sullivan, you came over the bridge yesterday. You saw the heavy smoke coming from this neighborhood. When you got to this area, what exactly did you encounter?
Well, I got out of the car and I turned into 132nd Street. And as I looked down at the end of the street, there was nothing but flames and smoke. There was 2 buildings on both sides of the street were fully engulfed in flames. So I ran towards the building. The wind was at my back, so the heat and the smoke and the flames was away from me. So I could get right up to the fire. At which time there was a fire engine had pulled up and was starting to unload their hose and try to get some water on the fire. There were some buildings adjacent to where the fire was. And we went, there was a couple of construction workers from Breezy Point. We went from door to door, making sure that all the people got out of the house.
I know that you were, at that moment, thinking consciously that at least in this situation, as opposed to September 11th, you had a chance to do something.
That's correct, I did. When I first saw the smoke, it reminded me of what we had seen on television at the towers. And when this was all said and done and was finished, I had a great feeling of satisfaction because unlike the Twin Towers where I had to just sit there and watch the buildings come down, I thought I could play a little bit of a role in this.
Mrs. Sullivan, your husband acted calmly and bravely in those first few moments after this crash, and I know you've related that finally when things calmed down a little bit and he stood back and was more of a spectator, the emotions hit your husband.
Yes, they did. He, as a matter of fact, it was strange because I called him on the cell phone and I heard him running to the houses to check to see if there were people. He didn't realize he hadn't shut the cell phone off. And I heard him throughout this whole period when he was trying to help people. And when it was over, he tried to dial me back on the cell phone, and I could hear him
Honey, I'm
dialing.
still here.
I'm still here. I did listen to everything. And I didn't realize what I said. He said to me, I said, come home, because I was happy that he was able to do something. But then the concern, I think, hit both of us, that we really, you know, just wanted to sit back again and realize what a tragedy this is, and that so many lives were lost again, and so many people would have to go through suffering.
I know that if I take you back to September 11th for a second, not only again your son Patrick Jr., but your nephew, you had another son who worked at Cantor Fitzgerald but left that company just a few weeks prior, and a third son who's a New York City police officer who tried to get to the Trade Center to help people. So at one point you must have feared the worst for all three of your sons.
I actually thought I lost all three of our sons. When I saw the building come down and the dust rise up over Manhattan, I thought all three of our sons were gone. And then when we heard from Gregory and Jerry, I just thank God that I was spared my other two boys. And that's what keeps us going now, is the life that we have with the rest of our family.
We've had a chance to talk, excuse me, a little bit about your son Patrick, and he sounds like he was a wonderful young man. As you went through these buildings yesterday with the flame and the smoke, can you talk to me about the similarities? You actually watched the tower collapse from your rooftop through binoculars.
Yes.
How did it remind you of that?
Well, it was just the smoke, the black smoke. And when I saw the black smoke, I knew that there was no fire on the fire, no water on the fire, just as in the towers. And I never thought about any type of danger, because I wasn't really in any type of danger. But it was just a great feeling of satisfaction that I was in there. And I had a conversation with a fireman. I asked him, how far did the flames go down? Because we were at the beginning of the crash site. And he said it went down as far as he could see. And he said, I asked him, is there any survivors? He said he didn't think so. And he said, there's just bodies through there. And then I got busy again getting the hose off the truck and everything. And then, as like you said, when I started to become a spectator, that's when I said, well, it's time for me to leave and go home.
You hear a lot of people in the last 24 hours say things, Mr. and Mrs. Sullivan, like, how can this area, how can this city take more? You know, how can everybody here cope with another event like this? How do you explain the emotions of people in this community right now to people who live elsewhere?
Well, this community is a strong community. It's a very close community. We have nothing but firemen and cops, or retired firemen and cops, civil service employees, Wall Streeters, and it's just a community that when things are going bad, they get even closer together. If you're going to have a tragedy, and we certainly had a tragedy here, the whole community, this is the place to experience it, because of the support that you have with everybody.
I like to feel that people in this community are true Americans, and that we have a good spirit. We have the spirit to fight and go on, and that's what keeps everyone here going, and the will to help other people.
Well, again, my condolences to you and your family, and we thank you very much for sharing your time with us this morning.
It's our pleasure.
Patrick and Mary Sullivan.
Thank you very much, Matt.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's go back to Ann.
All right, such strong people. Thank you so much, Matt. In the news this morning, more now on the investigation into the crash of Flight 587. Officials say so far the evidence points to mechanical failure. The cockpit voice recorder indicates everything was normal until seconds before the crash in Bell Harbor, New York. Among the 260 people aboard who were killed, a Navy sailor from the USS Enterprise just returned from war duty, and a man found still holding a baby. As many as 9 people on the ground may also have been killed. A major development this morning in the war in Afghanistan. Opposition forces took control of the capital city of Kabul today, sending Taliban forces fleeing. NBC's Jim Maseda is in northern Afghanistan now with the latest. Jim, good morning.
Good morning, and well, for the Northern Alliance, the fall of Kabul is a dream that took 5 years to come true, but despite today's euphoria, this war here seems far from over.
The anti-Taliban forces of the Northern Alliance marching back into Kabul, the capital that the Taliban had captured from them in 1996.
and meeting no resistance. The Taliban deserting the city early this morning, heading to their southern stronghold of Kandahar. Despite U.S. fears that the Northern Alliance, a loose group of ethnic minorities, would be unwelcome here, today there was relief, even jubilation in the streets, the city exhausted by a generation of war.
The people are very happy.
Another U.S. concern that the Northern Alliance takes advantage of the political vacuum for its own ends is rejected by Northern Alliance officials. They say taking Kabul made military sense to avoid a Taliban counterattack. And only a moderate number of troops and about 1,000 police will enter the city for now to provide security.
We don't want to see any fighting inside Kabul. The civilians in Kabul have suffered enough.
Opposition officials in northern Afghanistan tell NBC News the Taliban will likely use Kandahar as a base to launch guerrilla attacks, but that the rest of Afghanistan will soon be in Northern Alliance hands. The first step, they say, towards a new government.
I think it could be the only chance to become unified. The people of Afghanistan are unified.
And there's an update on the 2 American women being held for trial by the Taliban for allegedly preaching Christianity. Eyewitnesses say that they saw the aid workers, 8 of them, driven out of Kabul late last night by the Taliban and apparently heading south. And
NBC's Jim Asada. Jim, thank you for that report this morning. Also today, a court in Germany convicted 4 people for bombing a disco in 1986, killing 2 U.S. soldiers and a Turkish woman. The court said the bombing was planned by members of the Libyan Secret Service. President Bush and Russian President Putin begin a 3-day summit today. Putin arrived in the U.S. during the night. In the summit, President Bush is expected to announce substantial reductions in U.S. nuclear weapons. You're up to date on the headlines at 7:40. It is now time for the weather and Al.
Today's weather is brought to you by America's Egg Farmers and the incredible edible egg.
Good morning. Let's check out your weather in the Pacific Northwest. It's looking a little on the wet side. We're expecting to see a lot of moisture streaming in from the west, from the Pacific on into Oregon and Washington State. And you'll be looking at anywhere from 3 to 5 inches of rain in the coastal areas, gale force winds, winds of over 65 miles per hour as far as the wind gusts are concerned. It will be a very wet one, and that wet weather will extend all the way down into Northern California. That's what's going on around the country. Here's what's happening in your neck of the woods.
Good morning, folks. It is a cloudy and so far dry Tuesday out there. Beautiful sunrise, as you can see. But as the day moves along, we'll see more clouds and rain coming out of those clouds later on. Take a look at our close-up satellite loop over the past 12 hours, and you can see this very strong system racing into off the Pacific Ocean, moving onshore later on today. So here's the forecast for you. Cloudy skies and rain. It's going to be increasing by this afternoon, and strong gusty winds out of the south. Our daytime high today should reach 56 degrees.
Now back to Katie.
Okay, Al, thank you very much. It's 7:41. Up next, one father's quest to find his daughter who was being tried by the Taliban in Kabul. But first, these messages.
Up to 10% of your calories should come from protein, and eggs are a good, convenient source of high-quality protein.
Once you pass 50, skincare's a whole new game.
L'Oreal introduces age-perfect anti-sagging and ultra-hydrating treatment.
Because mature skin has issues all its own. It starts to sag, loses resiliency, and needs more moisture.
Age Perfect actually improves skin's resiliency, tightening its network as it deeply rehydrates. So effective, 83% of women reported more resilient skin.
It's a major breakthrough for mature skin.
New Age Perfect anti-sagging and ultra-hydrating treatment, only from L'Oreal.
Because you're worth it.
Just wanna say how I missed you all day. So I'm baking big old biscuits. They're the heart of the meal. My heart to yours.
I'm a real wild one. Well, I'm just out of school, like I'm real cool. Gotta dance like a fool. Got the message that I gotta be a wild one. Oh yeah, I'm a wild one. Gonna break it loose, gonna keep on moving wild, gonna keep us moving, baby. I'm a real wild child.
He's out there.
Scarecrow is off and running. Catch it if you can. Garth Brooks, Scarecrow. The new release featuring Beer Run, When You Come Back to Me Again, and the new single, Wrapped Up in You. Available at Best Buy.
Over 3 months ago, 24-year-old American Heather Mercer was arrested in Afghanistan along with American Dana Curry after being accused of preaching Christianity in the strictly Muslim country. They were there as foreign aid workers. Just recently, Heather and the 7 other detained foreign aid workers were whisked away from Kabul to the southern town of Kandahar as the departing Taliban left the city. Heather's father, John Mercer, joins us this morning, or this evening for him, from Islamabad, Pakistan. Mr. Mercer, good morning.
Good morning, Katie. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for appearing on the program. I understand, Mr. Mercer, you got word that Heather and the other foreign aid workers were removed from Kabul and taken to Kandahar, and I guess there was an eyewitness account. Who told you what happened? What did he tell you?
Actually, Katie, the individual was a female journalist that lives in Kabul who has kept us advised on a almost daily basis as to what's going on. She called me this morning and told me that she had visited the prison this morning and was told by the guards there that they were taken out, put in a truck about midnight, and they said they were taking them to Kandahar.
Why were they taking them to Kandahar?
I suppose that's anybody's guess, but I was told at the Taliban embassy today that they wanted to continue to keep them safe, and they felt if they were not taken and they were left there, that harm may come to them from some of the extremists that are roaming the streets of Kabul, and also possibly from some of the opposition coming into the city today.
How concerned are you about this movement? I mean, is this change your attitude at all about Heather's situation?
Yeah, obviously, this is, to me, is rather devastating news. We were hoping that the trial was going to be concluded this week, although the detainee's lawyer has been quite a disappointment since he has not been there in 3 weeks. We were confident that the trial was going to conclude, but this is just another event in this long saga, but I'm still confident that sooner or later they're going to be released safely.
I understand that you spent some time at the Taliban embassy in Pakistan, in Islamabad. Were officials there helpful to you at all, Mr. Mercer?
Well, they were helpful from the standpoint that they agreed to meet with me this morning, as well as the lawyer's assistant who was there with me. They didn't have a lot of information. They promised that they would try to get something from Kandahar, but as you can understand, things for them are in quite disarray. So they listened to what I had to say, expressing my concern, and I plan to visit them tomorrow, the next day, to get some additional feedback from them.
Heather and the other foreign aid workers were arrested on August 3rd. Can you tell us sort of what the last few months have been like for you and your family, Mr. Mercer, and the kind of efforts that you've tried to make in terms of securing your daughter's release?
Well, it's been a very long roller coaster ride for Heather's mother, for Dana Curry, the Nancy Castle, the other American girl's mother, and myself. We've done everything that we can think of. We've visited with a lot of different individuals who seemed to think they could get the release. We visited the Taliban embassy on numerous occasions. We were in Kabul for 2.5 weeks, during which time we saw them about 5 times. So a lot of the time we've just spent waiting, spinning our wheels, but we've always kept up hope. The Taliban have continually assured us that they will be kept safe. This has been borne out by other reports that we've received, so it's not over, but hopefully the end is drawing near for them.
I know that you haven't spoken or heard from your daughter since late October. Is that right?
That's correct. I did receive recently a letter from Heather dated 4 November in which she expressed concern that the lawyer had not come back to continue the trial. She expressed, was talking about how they were preparing a good birthday dinner for Dana, whose birthday was on the 4th. They were writing songs about their freedom and their release. And I think their spirits were rather positive. I'm not quite sure how they feel right at this moment, but knowing the Afghan aid, I'm sure they're still hanging in there.
And in closing, Mr. Mercer, do you feel as if you're getting enough assistance from U.S. officials?
Katie, I don't think we could get any better assistance from U.S. officials. From day one, particularly the embassy here in Islamabad, they've given us 1,000%, and they're still doing that. So I know that Heather's mother and Nancy Castle are very pleased with the support, and I'm very thankful and gracious to all that we've received from the State Department and the embassy here in Islamabad.
Well, John Mercer, thank you for taking time out to speak with us this morning. All the best to you and your family, and please keep us posted about
Thank you very much, Katie.
Heather and her situation. Thank you. It is 7:49. We'll be back with more of Today right after this.
Great. Credit card bill.
Look at these fees.
Honey?
One rate for purchases, higher rate for cash advances, and those telemarketers.
Relax. We switched to Capital One's new no-hassle card.
Introducing Capital One's new no-hassle Platinum Card. No balance transfer fees, no telemarketing, one low fixed rate.
Honey?
What's in your wallet?
Bring it home for the holidays. America's Sweethearts is a laugh-out-loud kind of movie. Catherine Zeta-Jones is hilarious.
People have no idea what it's like being me. Did we brush my teeth?
Julia Roberts is a modern-day Cinderella.
Don't let me interrupt.
America's Sweethearts on video and DVD. Rated PG-13.
Every day can be a surprise. There's never a dull moment working here.
I always had heard that Walmart was a good company to work for.
Our number one goal is to keep our customers happy.
That's 100% of your job.
We laugh. We laugh at Walmart. We have fun. It's very important to make the customer happy because the customer is number one here at Walmart.
Just go over there with a smile on your face, and that may turn their day around.
It's like a family. It's like a big, happy family.
I love coming to work every day. How many people can say that?
Walmart is a great place to work for anybody.
Charlie, you look good. Don't forget, today's picture day.
Good days start with Fruit of the Loom. Fresh colors, fresh styles.
Whole grain.
It's energy, and it's Quaker oatmeal, so it stays with Sarah through every story, every year, and every problem she faces. Just another reason to start their day the Quaker way.
Warms you heart and soul. One for you and one for me. One for you.
Introducing a new Nestle Toll House break-apart cookie dough. Chocolate chip cookies with a layer of fudge filling. Just break, bake, and get Toll House cookies with warm, creamy fudge inside. More in your Toll House cookie to love in no time at all. Chocolate chip with fudge and chocolate chip with caramel. New from Nestle Toll House.
It's the home without the party. Fa la 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 la.
Oh.
It's the season to be jolly. Fa la 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 la.
To deck the halls with strength that won't wreck the walls, you need the remarkable new Command adhesive hooks from 3M. Simply stretch the tab and Command adhesive comes off clean. Because what goes up must come down. Take Command. Holds on strong, releases on command. One more example of 3M innovation.
Katie, when we come back, we'll talk to another eyewitness and to the editor of the local newspaper here in Queens.
Also, later on, Matt, how to deal with holiday travel and stress during these difficult times. But first, your local news.
orders to shoot. Boy Scout, sir.
2 men in a game.
Central Intelligence. You'd be working for me, mostly undercover.
Where all they have...
God, you're hideous. Why do you even bother? Missed you, too.
...is each other.
Tom Bishop been arrested for espionage. I'm getting him out.
From the director of Crimson Tide and Enemy of the State.
They know. They don't know. They'll be waiting.
Spy Game.
Where are you? I'm coming home.
Rated R. At theaters November 21st.
A facial? Well, how's 3 weeks from Thursday?
Sorry, she's booked.
Impossible.
Olay Daily Facials Cleansing Cloths.
Hold, please. Oh, I'm sorry. No, that's impossible.
Textured cloths proven to cleanse and exfoliate like a facial. To improve skin's condition day after day.
Sorry, she's booked.
Sorry, she's booked all month. I have an opening Sunday morning at 6 a.m.
Daily Facials Cleansing Cloths. From Olay. Love the skin you're in.
The beauty, the world of Ralph Lauren. For the holidays, on polo.com, America Online keyword polo.
It's not like other places. People say good day instead of hi there. And good times are the order of the evening. And you can get a taste of the place just by watching an onion bloom. So don't just go out. Go out back. Outback Steakhouse. No rules, just right.
Before I quit smoking, I asked my doctor, is Nicorette safe? And he said, of course Nicorette is safe. Smoking is not. Nicorette has been proven safe and effective in dozens of clinical trials. And Nicorette offers the Committed Quitter Support Program, which my doc said is clinically proven to increase my chances of success by up to 50%. And when he told me that only Nicorette comes in mint and orange, I knew that that was the right choice for me. So I took my doctor's advice, and you know what? It worked.
You can do it. Nicorette can help.
You are watching Today, America's favorite morning program.
Depression affects over 50 million Americans, 1 out of every 5 people. Symptoms of depression may include feeling sad, down, or hopeless, having low energy, and changes in sleep. If you or someone you know is suffering from depression, there is a place to turn. Make an appointment at Pacific Northwest Clinical Research Center. You can participate in an investigational medication research study for depression at no cost. Call Pacific Northwest Clinical Research Center at 503-228-CARE.
Tonight at 5 in a Unit 8 investigation.
From poor ventilation systems to lead in pipes, some of Oregon's school buildings are among the unhealthiest in the nation.
Find out what's being done tonight at 5 on News Channel 8, where the news comes first.
On the next Live, superstar Barry Manilow. And Philly's Kim Delaney. Plus, it's Help Wanted Makeover Week.
We'll show you how to put your best foot forward.
Next Live.
Today at 11. News Channel 8 can also be seen on these local translators. This is a News Channel 8 update.
And good morning, everyone. I'm Russ Lewis. It is 7:57 now and 51 degrees outside downtown. Here's what's making news today. The Blazers in New York City for tonight's game against the New York Knicks. But yesterday, they took some time out to tour a firehouse and talk with New York City firefighters. Bonzi Wells even tried out the fire pole. That knee feeling pretty good. He says the visit meant a lot to him.
For us to come here makes them feel a lot better. You know, let them know we care about them and we're thinking about them and we're just affected just as well as they are about it.
The team presented firefighters with an autographed poster that reads, Blazers love FDNY, you're our heroes. You can catch tonight's game right here on News Channel 8. It does mean some changes, though, to our programming schedule. We'll have News Channel 8 at 5 o'clock, and then at 5:30, the pregame show, tip-off tonight at 6 o'clock. And our prime time programming tonight starts with Frasier at 8:30. Let's check in on the traffic now. Here is Bill Diaz. Bill, good morning.
Russ, thank you. We have a traffic jam inbound on I-84 because of a stall at the west end. Backs up from 102nd down to I-5. I-5 southbound slows from 39th down to the Interstate Bridge and through Delta Park. Sunset Highway slowing both directions at 217. I-5 northbound very slow from Tiger to the curves. Dave Selesky's here with the weather.
Bill, thanks very much. We have cloudy skies overhead right now, folks, and it looks like some wet weather moving into the area. Here's the live first alert Doppler radar. You can see that rain right here now moving up off the Oregon coast and headed in towards the Willamette Valley. Currently outside in Portland, clouds still dry at this time, even a couple of breaks there in the overcast, and the current temperature now 51 degrees. Forecast today, cloudy skies, rain developing, and our high at 56. Now, Russ, back over to you.
All right, Dave, thanks very much. That's all for now. I'm Russ Lewis. More news coming up in 25 minutes. Have a good morning, everyone.
I see skies of blue and clouds of white, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Discover the world of Estee Lauder pleasures. Now, the holiday gift no one can resist. All the trimmings, a makeup collection with more than 30 fabulous ways to sparkle and shine. Yours for $45 with any Estee Lauder fragrance purchase. Now at Meyer and Frank.
It cuts through the wind and carves up the road. With its available 247 horsepower engine, a corner-gripping suspension, and a slippery shape the Italians called one of the most beautiful in the world. The Volvo S60. It'll change the way you look at Volvo.
We are back at 8 o'clock on this Tuesday morning. It's the 13th day of November 2001. You're looking at the aftermath of the crash of American Airlines Flight 587. It crashed here in Bell Harbor, Queens at about 9:17 Monday morning, only minutes after taking off from John F. Kennedy International Airport. 260 passengers on board that plane were killed. 6 to 9 people on the ground are missing and feared dead. 265 bodies have been recovered so far. We have a split version of our program this morning. I'm Matt Lauer in Bell Harbor. Katie's back in New York in Studio 1A. And Katie, the people in this community are used to hearing planes fly low over their homes, but no one was prepared for what they saw and heard yesterday morning, Katie.
I'm sure, Matt, and I know you're going to have more on that in a few minutes. Meanwhile, coming up in this half hour from the studio, we're going to take a little break from the difficult news of the day. We'll have more of our preview of the Harry Potter movie, which is opening this weekend. In a few minutes, we'll spend some time with 2 of the young stars of this highly anticipated movie. Matt?
All right, Katie, thank you very much. Now more on the crash of American Airlines Flight 587. Francis Simone is a local resident who actually heard the plane come overhead and then watched it crash. Howie Schwach is the managing editor of The Wave, Rockaway's only local newspaper. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Francis, you have heard planes flying over your home for years. You know what they sound like. You know what to expect. What was different about what you heard yesterday morning?
Basically, it sounded like, which is a Concorde, which is unusual because it was at a very, very low altitude. And I was lying on my couch, and that kind of made me go to the door to peek out to see what was going on. I found it very strange, and the location it was coming from, like the sound, was coming from the east, going towards like the west.
Your daughter said, Mom, this plane is very low.
Yes, she did.
What did you see when you looked outside?
At first, I didn't see nothing, but I did hear, like, which sounded to me like engines were going on and off. So I immediately ran back into my home and grabbed my 2 children that were home at the time.
When you got back outside, you did finally see the plane.
Yes, I did.
And basically, not to make it sound too dramatic, it was coming right at you.
Yes, it was.
So you tried to run in any direction to get away from the plane, thinking that it was still going to hit you. Where did you end up, and where did the plane crash in comparison to where you were?
I ended up across the street in a park, which I went for cover under a park bench where I was covering my 2 children, my 4-month-old son and my 7-year-old daughter. It flew like overhead, but more towards the north side of me at this point. And then I just looked above and knew I was at safety at this point, but knew we were in trouble.
I know you were concerned that the fuel from the plane would actually hit you and catch fire.
Yes.
Your children are okay?
Yes, my daughter, my younger daughter, is a little emotional right now, so I kept her home from school today. Try to reach out to someone to get her help a little. It was very traumatic for her.
Howard, you actually stopped yesterday morning on your way to work to put air in your tires.
Yes.
And you stopped at the gas station where the engine actually ended up.
I was there about 10 minutes prior to that time.
When you heard about the crash, what was the first thing you saw when you got to this area?
Well, I knew enough to park far enough away so I wouldn't get pinned in by fire engines. And I walked up East 129th Street and I saw the engine sitting in the gas station right where I had parked about 20 minutes before, and then I knew we were in trouble. And a small paper like The Wave, obviously, even the managing editor takes pictures and does stories, so I was here to take pictures. But my son and my daughter-in-law and my grandson live at the end of 129th on the beach block, so I took a little detour to go up and make sure they were all right first.
So you went door to door, basically, looking for your family.
Making sure that they were all right before I went back to cover the story.
And describe for me how far they actually live from where this plane came down nose first.
The plane came down on basically 130th and 131st Street, and they live on 129th on the beach block.
So right just 2 blocks away.
Just 2 blocks away.
When you finally made it to 130th and 131st Street, can you explain the scene for me?
It was like a war zone. Like the smoke was dense. You couldn't breathe. There were firefighters all over the place. I stood in front of the Harbor Light restaurant, and the houses across the street were on fire. Police were pulling hose for the firefighters. You know, in New York, we have this traditional police-fireman kind of controversy, but there was no controversy yesterday.
We've heard stories of firefighters running through bushes, climbing over fences, doing anything they could to get into where the crash site was.
A person grabbed me and they said, look in the backyard, and I went in the backyard, and there was a wing, or part of a wing, standing straight up like a tree, and the house was on fire, and there were police and firemen trying to get the fire out.
Talk to me a little bit about this community. I know you've obviously lived here for a while. This area was so hard hit by the World Trade Center disaster. It doesn't seem that this area can take more at this time.
I would say it would be very hard at this time, yes, for all the residents here.
There's a school right down the block, Howard.
St. Francis de Sales.
There are like 14 elementary school classes in that school.
Every single one of the classes, there's at least one child and probably more that lost either a mother or a father in the World Trade Center. There have been a series of memorials and funerals held by the fire department almost 3 times a week at that church since the World Trade Center.
So as the managing editor of this area's only local newspaper, tell me about this community and what this will mean and how they will go on, the people here.
This is a tough community. I mean, this is New York City, and you know, it sounds egoistic to say that New Yorkers are tough, but after the World Trade Center, and this community lost 60 people at the World Trade Center, 35 people from this one parish alone, mostly firefighters. It's a very blue-collar, middle-class community. Firefighters, teachers, police officers, and they're going to come back. As an example, it's just kind of a personal story. One of the houses that was destroyed on 131st Street is my wife's best friend, and my daughter is getting married on Sunday, and the woman called my daughter and said, do you mind if I come to the wedding in the clothes that I'm wearing? It's all I have. And you know, people are going to go on. This is a community that's been hit very hard by the World Trade Center. At least 60 people from this community.
Howard Schwab.
They'll go on.
Howard, thank you very much. Francis Simone, thank you as well.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. And we're going to go back to Studio 1A and Ann.
All right, thanks a lot, Matt. In the news this morning, the investigation into the crash of American Airlines Flight 587. The cockpit voice recorder has been heard and indicates a sudden mechanical failure. Also, the FAA reported last month there was a, quote, unsafe condition in the type of engine used on the plane. There is still no sign of the flight data recorder, which would indicate what happened to the plane's operating systems before the crash. In another major story this morning, the tide is turning in Afghanistan today. Opposition forces now control the capital city of Kabul after the Taliban fled. NBC's Jim Miklaszewski is at the Pentagon this morning with more on this story. Mick, good morning.
Good morning, Ann. Despite some early concerns that the rebel advances were moving too quickly across northern Afghanistan, Pentagon officials are elated this morning with the progress in the war. The Northern Alliance, like some liberation force, rolls into Kabul this morning uncontested. Cheering crowds line the streets. Pounded by intense American bombing, the Taliban armies fled the city overnight without firing a shot. A BBC reporter caught in the hail of U.S. bombs. The U.S. is still urging the Northern Alliance, however, not to take control of Kabul until a provisional government can be established. And the rebels say today they do not intend to occupy the city, only provide security forces to maintain order. But the fall of Kabul makes it clear the Taliban is on the run. NBC News has now learned the U.S. has identified 200 caves believed to hide al-Qaeda terrorist troops and leaders, and is using American airstrikes and U.S. Special Forces to systematically take them out. Intelligence reports also indicate Osama bin Laden is angered over the way the Taliban is fighting or not fighting the war, and a crack has developed between bin Laden and Taliban leaders. But Pentagon officials warn the war is far from over. The Taliban may try to regroup around Kandahar in the south and fight a protracted guerrilla war. But the U.S. is ready. American warplanes will now use air bases in Tajikistan to launch airstrikes. And the aircraft carrier Stennis is now on its way to join the fight. And U.S. officials confirm what could be more encouraging news this morning on the war front, that some Pashtun tribal leaders are apparently rising up against the Taliban in the Taliban stronghold of Kandahar in the south. And
NBC's Jim Miklaszewski. Mick, thank you this morning. Well, for the White House, the fall of Kabul is both good and bad news. NBC's Campbell Brown is at the White House with more on this. Campbell, explain the administration's reaction.
Well, Ann, they do see this as a blow to the Taliban, but White House officials this morning have been careful to say that the situation on the ground is still fluid, and this does complicate things for the administration. The president just this weekend was urging the Northern Alliance to move toward Kabul, but not go into the capital, and the reason the administration has so far made very little progress toward putting together a coalition government to fill that power vacuum.
So what happens now, Campbell?
Well, discussions are already underway at the United Nations to try to find a political solution. 8 countries are taking part, 6 countries around Afghanistan, plus the U.S. and Russia. This will be a focus of the 3-day summit. The president begins today with Russia's President Putin, and they are expected to issue a joint statement on Afghanistan and announce a major breakthrough in arms control that both countries will cut their nuclear arsenal by 2/3.
NBC's Campbell Brown. Campbell, thank you for your report this morning. You're up to date at 8:11. I'll turn now back to Katie.
All right, Ann, thank you very much. We're going to head outside to Rockefeller Plaza. We'll get a check of the weather from Al. Hey, Al.
Hey, Katie, how you doing? And we got some friends out here telling us it's time to focus on lung cancer, lungcancer.org. And there's a friend of mine, Ann, who helped take care of my dad when he was suffering. How you doing?
Absolutely fine, and the best to your family as well, I hope.
Thanks.
We're here as oncology nurses to bring attention to lung cancer awareness. You can contact our website. You can talk to a nurse, a physician, or a social worker for questions and issues. We're happy to be here, and we have shirts for everybody.
All right, well, thank you for coming down. We appreciate that. Okay, let's check your weather, see what's going on, and we will show you for today. We've got a lot of wet weather from Northern California all the way up into Oregon. Heavy rain along the Florida-Georgia coastline, and some heavy rain also in the Rockies today. Fog in the northern plains, wet weather the Great Lakes. Fog in southeastern Texas as well. Sunny but chilly here in the northeast on into the mid-Atlantic states. That's what's going on around the country. Here's what's happening in your neck of the woods.
Good morning, folks. It's a beautiful sunrise out there. It's a Northwest Sky Cam. The Rose City camera pointed out towards the east. Some high clouds now overhead. But we're going to watch the clouds on the increase throughout this morning, and then by mid-morning, late morning, rain's going to be developing. And by this afternoon, as this system races onshore, cloudy skies and rain, heavy at times, and some very gusty winds in the forecast as well by this evening. There is the forecast today, rain increasing this afternoon. Our daytime high today should reach about 56 degrees. Tonight's low down to 52.
Judy, who's not too happy. What's your name?
Beth and Terrence.
All right, Beth. Hey, thank you. Okay, that's your latest now. Let's head inside the cave.
Okay, Al, thanks very much. Up next, 2 fresh young faces from Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Could you all smile, please? Rupert, smile. But first, these messages.
So, here I am, all grown up, and my mom's not cooking my breakfast anymore. But I can still taste how smooth and creamy and perfect everything was when she made my cream of wheat for me. And now it's my turn. They like it with strawberry jam or honey. You know, life's got enough lumps. I'll just keep it as smooth and creamy as I can for them.
Cream of wheat, so good to hold on to.
Is your kid being a kid? Call Stanley Steamer.
Stanley Steamer. Tough on dirt, gentle on carpet.
Zales half-carat diamond earrings. Your choice, just $4.99. There is courtship in here. Zales, the diamond store.
Ocean Spray is fortified with as much vitamin C as orange juice, so it's good for your whole body. Just leave the juicing to us. Ocean Spray. Crave the wave.
You'd try anything to get some relief from your nasal allergy symptoms. But before you change your life, make an easier change. Multi-symptom Flonase relieves all these nasal allergy symptoms: sneezing, itchy, runny nose, and congestion. Flonase once a day relieves them all day and night. For best results, use daily. Side effects are generally mild and may include headache, nosebleed, or sore throat. Ask your doctor about multi-symptom Flonase. When you get it all it takes is Flonase.
All power toothbrushes are not created equal. Sonicare. It has patented sonic technology and combines high-speed bristle motion with dynamic cleaning action. So effective, Sonicare removes 80% of stains, getting your teeth whiter and healthier in 28 days, guaranteed. See for yourself, or ask your dentist about Sonicare.
As we count down to the opening of the movie Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, we want to introduce you to two new actors, Rupert Grint and Emma Watson. It's a child's dream come true to play Harry Potter's best friends, Ron Weasley and the ever-so-smart Hermione Granger, in a story they adored before they ever even auditioned for the part. Emma Watson and Rupert Grint, good morning. Nice to see you all. How exhausted are you? I mean, you've had pretty much of a whirlwind, well, gosh, a whirlwind year, but the past couple weeks have been really crazy. What have you guys been up to?
We saw the premiere on Sunday.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was really nerve-wracking.
It was?
Yeah, it was.
You know, I actually talked to Dan Radcliffe, who plays Harry in the movie, about that. I said, and he said he was nervous. What was it, what made you nervous about that premiere?
There's so many people.
Yeah.
I mean, all the press, the people that were going, the cameras, the flashing, it was just scary.
It was? Did a lot of people stop you and ask you for your autograph?
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. Now, at the New York premiere, you, Rupert, saw the movie for the 4th time, and Emma, you saw it for the 3rd time, right? Because you also went to the London premiere.
I did.
Which was about a week ago. All right, in your very objective way, I'm sure you won't be, but tell me what you think of the film. Was it, when you saw the movie put together, was it what you expected it would be?
Exactly. I feel like they've kind of just like taken a piece of my mind out from the book and just used it on the film because it's exactly as I imagined it. I mean, I suppose every actress, when they like see themselves on screen, they're like, oh, they cut out my best lines, or oh, I look so bad in that scene, or oh, my hair looks disastrous. But I think everyone says that, so I'm very self-critical, but altogether I just love the film. It's amazing.
But you were a little critical of your own performance at times?
Yeah, I suppose every actress is.
Yeah, it just sort of goes with the territory.
What
about you, Rupert, when you first saw the movie? I mean, because obviously you guys shot it over a period of 9 months in bits and pieces. Lots of the shooting was done with a green screen because of special effects, right? And when you saw what they had done with it, with the music, with the editing and all that, what did you think?
It was so cool.
Yeah?
Really wicked, yeah.
Wicked, that's your favorite word, isn't it, Rupert?
Yeah,
was there anything different about the movie or anything that surprised you when you saw it all put together?
Some of the special effects that we hadn't seen when we were filming it, they were in. It was really, really wicked.
Yeah, now I know that you all had not had a lot of acting experience. I guess Rupert had a little more than you, Emma, when you got these roles. And it was probably a little intimidating to work with someone like Chris Columbus. Tell me about your working relationship with him, because he had a lot of kids to contend with. Did you enjoy it, and how would you describe him as a director?
1, 2, 3. He was just so supportive and nice.
Yeah, he's, however much under pressure we were to get a scene done or whatever, he always had a smile on his face, and he's really good with working with children, and he really got us this moment, and he made us feel really, really comfortable. He's a great director.
Was he ever really demanding of you, Rupert? I mean, did you ever think, I can't believe I got myself into this? Or for the most part, was he pretty patient?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was really patient.
Because you guys are shooting the second movie already. Haven't you started filming the Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets?
Yeah, me and Dan have just been doing, like, the flying car bit.
Uh-huh.
I'm
Yeah.
starting in December, so I'm really
so you haven't started yet?
No, I haven't. But,
How do you all do this and keep up with your schoolwork? I know that you have tutoring on the set, but you only do, what, how many hours of tutoring a day?
3 hours at the minimum and 5 hours at the max.
Yeah. And we don't get any homework, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I bet that's great.
Yeah.
But is it hard to keep up with your work? I mean, because you must be exhausted doing all your acting and taking part in this movie. Is it tough to stay on top of your studies?
No, well, I find it quite easy to keep up, because it's like one-to-one-ing. I think you learn more because there's not many distractions.
Yeah,
Right, and you really have to focus?
Yeah, it's one-to-one, so even though we do like half the amount that we would do in a normal school day, you get just as much work done because it's one-to-one, and when you're in a class, it takes a lot longer.
Well, in the movie, you all are obviously fast friends, along with Dan Radcliffe, Harry Potter, and we've got a scene from the movie where you are actually working on perfecting your magic skills with a feather. Let's take a look.
One of a wizard's most rudimentary skills is levitation, or the ability to make objects fly. Wingardium Leviosa. Off you go then.
Wingardium Leviosa. Wingardium Leviosa.
Stop. You're going to take someone's eye out. Besides, you're saying it wrong. It's Leviosa, not Leviosa.
You do it then if you're so clever.
Go on.
Wingardium Leviosa.
Wingardium Leviosa.
You go, girl. That Hermione is such a know-it-all, though, isn't she, Emma?
Yeah.
You, I know, have said before that you're not like her at all, that you and Hermione are actually complete opposites.
Pretty much. I reckon that Hermione is pretty bossy, pretty swotty, pretty teacher's pet, and I enjoy school, but I'm not obsessed with school. That's kind of the difference between us.
And she is obsessed with everything she's learning at Hogwarts.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Rupert, I know you and Ron Weasley have a lot in common. Tell me about that.
When I was reading the books, I always felt like I relate to Ron because we both got red hair, both like sweets. We both got lots of brothers and sisters. I have one brother and 3 sisters, and we're both scared of spiders.
And I know that you really wanted to play Ron because he may be a little wimpy at first, but he really pulls through when they need him to. Doesn't he?
The chess scene. Yeah, that was kind of like Ron's turn in the limelight, yeah.
Now, but I also wanted to ask you about the special effects, because as you all said, that some of the scenes you saw, you didn't realize what they would look like. Tell me about flying as we look at a little video, or a little bit of the film of you all flying. Was that probably wasn't nearly as much fun as it appeared to be in the movie, right? Oh, especially that part.
Yeah.
Did you, I mean, was it tough to do all these special effects?
Yeah, you just, when you're doing the flying or like the growth or whatever, that's the big part of acting because there's nothing there. You're kind of like talking to nothing. It's like, hi, how are you?
You have to use your imagination.
Yeah.
Well, Emma and Rupert, thanks so much for coming by. Best of luck with Harry Potter. Good to see you. And we'll be back after this.
Space camp for your daughter, priceless. Grand Prix lessons for your dad, priceless. A celebrity chef for your sister, priceless. getting them something that wasn't on their list. Priceless. Use your MasterCard and you could win 5 priceless gifts, including an African safari. There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's MasterCard.
It sounds funny, but packed in Quaker oatmeal, it sticks with Joe. So he has energy for any pop quiz that comes his way. That's one more reason to prepare for the day the Quaker way.
Working heart and soul.
Waiting for menopause to worry about the risk of osteoporosis? If you're past 40, you're losing bone mass now. Take Oscal, the calcium supplement. Proven effective in more clinical studies. I call it my osteoporosis insurance. Don't take chances, take Oscal. Why do I eat?
Why do I eat Healthy Choice Beef Tips Portobello? Because it has big tender chunks of beef.
Because it tastes great.
Did I mention it tastes great?
Because my body needs balanced nutrition. Why do I eat Healthy Choice?
Beef Tips Portobello.
It helps me do the things I like to do. That's why.
Early Sunday morning, winter's day. They can smell the cinnamon around their way.
We love Grand Cinnamon Rolls from Pillsbury. They're not ordinary rolls. They're grand.
My heart to yours. It ain't eggs, it ain't breakfast. I love it.
Did you know eggs are a good, convenient source of high-quality protein?
The incredible edible egg.
Looking for low prices on electronic gifts this holiday? Well, just follow the Kmart Blue Light. You'll find low prices on Sony PlayStation 2, as well as on this Samsung DVD player. And if it's music you're after, you'll find the Blue Lights have got a great low price on this RCA boombox. So it's easy to see that this holiday season at Kmart, low prices are our gift to you.
Over the river and through the woods, to grandmother's house we go.
Now head home for the holidays in any new Jeep vehicle and take along the security of 7-year or 100,000-mile powertrain protection. Plus, through November 19th, 0% APR on select O2 models.
Hooray for the fun, it's the pudding done. Hooray for the pumpkin pie.
We're getting students from many different backgrounds. We're getting kids from all over the world in our classrooms.
I like math.
I like soccer.
Science. I love drama.
Computers. I just learned how to sing in Japanese.
As teachers, we don't care where kids come from, but we do care where they're going.
I'm going to be a fashion designer, a doctor, a lawyer. I want to be a construction worker. I want to be a cop. I'd like to be a teacher.
When you bring people together from different cultures, great things happen.
Turn to Joe Donlin on Northwest News Channel 8. This is a News Channel 8 update.
Good morning, everyone. It's 8:26. Our current temperature downtown, 51 degrees. I'm Brenda Braxton along with Hank Stack. Here's what's happening. A new study finds 1/3 of all Oregon high school students fail to graduate. Researchers followed the class of 1998. More than half of Latino and African-American teenagers dropped out of school. The Black Alliance for Educational Options says the numbers prove minority students need more than public schools can provide. Oregon has the 10th worst graduation rate in the country. No matter where they're headed, the highway seems to be the most popular route for Thanksgiving travelers. According to the latest AAA survey, 87% of those contacted plan to drive this holiday. That's the highest number of car travelers AAA has ever seen. Well, let's see how commuters are faring this morning. Here's Bill Diaz.
Brenda, thank you. A huge tie-up inbound on I-84 because of 2 stalls at the west end near Grand. Backs up to 102nd. Use Burnside, Gleason, or Halsey. Meanwhile, Sunset Highway traffic this morning. That traffic is getting better at 217. Looking pretty good there. I-5 northbound traffic is also heavy, and it's still slow. Taylor's Ferry to Terwilliger. Live from the ODOT Traffic Command Center, I'm Bill Diaz. Now with the forecast, here's Dave Selesky.
Bill, thanks very much. And folks, get set for a very wet and windy Tuesday. Here's live First Alert Doppler 8000. Look at the rain already building up along the Oregon coast right now. Astoria, Seaside, Tillamook down towards Newport. And that rain is also now into the Willamette Valley. We're going to see a lot of rain and a fair amount of wind as well. I'm going to switch up right now. We're going to do our water vapor imagery. Shows you clouds and how much moisture is in those clouds. Take a look at this system as it bears in towards the Pacific Northwest. And notice the green right here. That's indicating heavy amounts of rain moving onshore. We're going to see rain perhaps at 2 to 3 inches in the Coast Range and maybe up to an inch of rain here locally in Portland over the next 24 to 30 hours. Our forecast today, cloudy skies, rain developing, winds picking up as well, and our daytime high reaching 56. Now, Brenda and Hank, back to you two.
Thanks, Dave. We'll be back with another local news update in just about 25 minutes. Have a good morning.
Tonight at 5 in a Unit 8 investigation.
From poor ventilation systems to lead in pipes, some of Oregon's school buildings are among the unhealthiest in the nation.
Find out what's being done tonight at 5 on News Channel 8, where the news comes first.
Dan, I just heard you're leaving.
Yeah.
Can I have your chair?
You're changing jobs. Usually that means a tough decision about your old 401k.
Congratulations. Anyone call dibs on your shelves?
So we've made setting up a key rollover IRA easy to achieve. Just call 1-888-KEY-2020 and we'll do the rest because you've got enough to deal with when you start a new job.
Excuse me, the guy who had this office before you said I could have this. Oh, and welcome aboard.
To understand your rollover options, ask for our free booklet.
It's very clear our love is here to stay.
Heading home for the holidays? For a limited time, take along the security of 7-year or 100,000-mile powertrain protection on any new Chrysler vehicle. Plus, through November 19th, 0% APR on select 2002 models.
We're here. Our love is here to stay.
Tonight, Jay's all new with Rosie Perez, Hardballs, Chris Matthews, and Jewel. Plus, Tonight Show Secrets Revealed. Then on Conan, Martin Lawrence, and William Shatner. All new tonight.
We're back at 8:30 on this Tuesday morning. It is the 13th day of November. The year is 2001, and we've got a lot of smiling faces out on Rockefeller Plaza this morning. Maybe a little difficult to focus on Christmas following Monday's tragic airplane crash, but workers are still going about the task of readying the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree for lighting ceremonies on November 28th. And it's a beauty this year. Meanwhile, back inside Studio 1A, I'm Katie Couric. Matt Lauer is out in Belle Harbor, Queens, near the site of Monday's disaster. Matt, good morning.
Katie, good morning to you. Of course, the events of the past couple of months, the hijacking and crash of those 4 planes back on September 11th, and now the crash of American Airlines Flight 587 here in Queens on Monday morning, have added to the fear people already had of flying. This morning, we'll talk about that and give some tips on how you may be able to calm those jitters, Katie.
All right, Matt. We'll also have more of our special series, today's Toy Test 2001. This morning, we're going to find out about the best toys for preschoolers. But first, Al Roker has another check of the weather. Al?
Hey, how are you, Katie? Good morning. And we got some folks from New Orleans here. How are you?
Fine. How are you?
Well, we're doing good. A little chilly enough for you here?
Yes, it is. Cold enough.
Well, you look prepared. That's nice. All right. Let's check your weather, see what's going on, shall we? And show you that for this afternoon, we are expecting to see some heavy rain along the southeastern coast of the country, from Georgia down into Florida, an easterly flow bringing a lot of moisture and some thunderstorms. Rest of the country, a lot of wet weather in the Pacific Northwest with some strong winds, some fog in the northern plains. We've got showers and thunderstorms, as we said, in Florida, and some wet weather in the western and central Great Lakes. And a beautiful young lady back here. What's your name?
Gabrielle.
Gabrielle, how old are you?
8.
Where are you from?
Virginia.
Virginia. You had to think about that for a second, right? Well, thanks for coming, sweetie. All right, that's what's going on around the country. Here's what's happening in your neck of the woods.
Good morning, everybody. It's a Tuesday morning. Cloudy skies overhead right now. And as we move into late morning, we're going to see cloudy skies on the increase and rain developing as a very strong storm right here races across the Pacific Ocean, comes on shore later this morning and brings rain and some gusty winds along the ocean beaches late into the day and overnight tonight. So here's the forecast for you. Cloudy skies and rain increasing this afternoon to rain heavy at times. The winds out of the south 15 to 25 miles an hour. The high 56 degrees.
That's your latest weather. Now let's head on down the Washington Way and say hello to Mr. Willard Scott. How are you, sir?
It's that lady from Adelaide there in Australia. Is she still there?
Yeah, the lady from Adelaide is right here.
Ask her if she knows Wagga Wagga.
Do you know Wagga Wagga?
Yes, I do.
What's Wagga Wagga?
It's a place in Australia.
It's a place in Australia.
Well, we wished the lady a happy 100th birthday there a couple of years back.
We wished somebody a happy 100th birthday in Wagga Wagga.
They liked it so much they named it twice. Wagga Wagga.
Just like New York, New York.
New York, New York, yeah. Jay Schwartz, New York. Hey, here's a nice bowl just for you and for me. This is awfully nice. 7th annual Empty Bowl Thanksgiving Luncheon takes place Thursday, this coming Thursday, Tampa, Florida, and they're raising awareness about hunger. People come in, make their contributions, and the money that they give goes to feed the hungry in the Tampa area, the Tampa Bay area. And the bowls were made by school children. Thank you. Happy birthday from Smuckers. How sweet it is on a beautiful day in your nation's capital. I hope it's a beautiful day where you are. Take a look at Sarah Nelson of Sylacauga, Alabama. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Lives independently and loves it. A big Braves fan, and she is lovely. Clarence Dorier of Hancock, Maryland. That's right up the road. Attends church every Sunday with his 95-year-old sister. They both thank God for all the years of health and happiness, and that is a nice thing. Happy birthday to both. Minnie Sims, Texarkana, Texas, known as Aunt Minnie. I had one of those. Everybody loves her. Very active in her church. Remember who Aunt Minnie was in the, what is it? Groucho Marx movie. Anyway, is that your Aunt Minnie in there? Dorothy McMahon and Gertrude Eddy, Boston, Mass. Both were nurses well into their 70s. They talk to each other every day, and they're both Red Sox fans, and they are both 100. Happy birthday. Rose Kadetsky of Rancho Mirage, California, picks her own oranges for juice every morning, still redecorates her home when she thinks it needs it, and she is 100. We have an extra, that'll come later. This is Hetty Howington of Freeport, Illinois. Sharp as a tack, loves black-eyed peas and turnip greens, and that's why she's lived to be 102. You can't beat it. There's power in that food. And we don't have a picture, but Dagny Anderson, I met her friends up in Willow Grove, Pennsylvania, and she's 101, and everybody loves her in Willow Grove. That's it from Washington. Here's Kate.
Hey, Willard, I like black-eyed peas and turnip greens, don't you?
I love it. Hoppin' John for New Year's Day, right?
Yeah, well, any day. And a little ham and red-eyed gravy and grits and all that good Southern stuff.
I'll be right out.
Okay, thanks, Willard. Coming up next, taking the fear out of flying this holiday season. But first, this is Today on NBC.
Like every Subaru, the Forester comes with all-wheel drive standard. The Ford Escape doesn't. The Forester comes with ABS standard. The Escape doesn't. And in independent crash test, the Forester received the highest rating. The Escape was rated simply marginal.
Nice car.
What do I look like? A dummy?
Subaru Forester, a smarter way to build an SUV.
Now you can get an APR as low as 2.9% on all 2002 Forester models.
In the garden, the flowers will grow if the soil is properly fertilized, but not with cat poo. That doesn't work as well as cow poo. The flowers in the garden attract the happy bees. Their poo is honey. Delicious honey.
Mom, Dad, we need to talk. I know college is going to be expensive, but the Oregon College Savings Plan can help. Your money will grow tax-free. Contributions are state tax deductible, and your withdrawals are tax-free, too. We can use it for any college in the country. It'll make you look real smart.
Invest in their dreams. Call now to learn more about the Oregon College Savings Plan.
Now, about my allowance.
Let's look at what makes the dome structure of great importance. You see, its circular design allows for maximum volume in a minimum space. So, an amazing number of people or things can actually fit in a relatively small area. With such an efficient design, it's a wonder domes aren't seen more often today.
The horrific events of September 11th left many people with a fear of flying, and Monday's disaster only served to put them more on edge. Here's NBC's Jim Avila.
It's now 5 times this year. America's aviation industry shaken by tragic accidents. 520 deaths in commercial airline crashes in the year 2001, leading to a crisis in confidence among America's 670 million airline passengers.
It's scary. You know, it's just hard to imagine that you can't go anywhere now. You can't even, I mean, you have to be in fear all the time.
Across the country, all Monday morning flights to New York canceled. United Airlines even requested an F-16 escort for one of its flights from Minneapolis to Denver. No incident on board. Among those delayed, Jim and Judy Azeltine heading from Denver to New York.
I just never thought I would live in my lifetime to see this kind of thing go on in our country.
Aviation consultant and frequent airline critic Mike Boyd says passengers are not yet convinced the industry has fixed security problems.
People aren't fooled when they see National Guard standing there like mannequins watching the same security that we had on 9/11.
Fear of flying may be a temporary ailment. Evidence that America was easing back into the air from a recent J.D. Power survey, which showed that 2/3 of those asked felt comfortable flying again. Only 3% said they will never again be at ease. Michelle DuPont is having a hard time. Already afraid to fly, every new accident sets her back.
My fear comes from mechanical failure. I'm more, getting up in the airplane, waiting for the explosion.
Dr. David Charney treats Michelle and hundreds of others since September 11 at his Roundhouse Fear of Flying Clinic in Alexandria, Virginia, training the mind to ignore everything except the current flight.
Focus on the here and now. Deal with the symptom itself.
Americans trying to fly with confidence again in a year when the goodbye airport hug seems more important than ever. For Today, Jim Avila, NBC News, Chicago.
And of course, this also means that families are more reluctant than ever to fly home for Thanksgiving and Christmas. Psychologist Dale Atkins is here with some advice. Hi, Dale. How are you?
I'm okay.
Well, in the aftermath of September 11th, I think many people were getting acclimated to the idea of flying again. They were feeling more secure about airline security or perhaps getting there. And then this happens. And as we saw in Jim's piece, this is a real setback for people, isn't it?
For a lot of people, it is a setback, and it's very natural and understandable, because if we understand why we're afraid, then we can start dealing with the fear.
Well, they say that air travel in the upcoming holidays will be down 27%. So it seems as if a lot of people will just opt not to fly at all. But for others, there's no choice, and if they want to be with their families, they have to get on an airplane. Would you offer the same advice as the expert in the piece to focus on the here and now, the current flight? Or are there other things that people can do to lessen their anxiety?
There are some other things people can do, and one of the things that you can do is when you're on the plane, visualize it being a safe flight, an easy flight, and having a comfortable landing. And while you're there, tell yourself some relaxation exercises. Do relaxation exercises, and tighten and then release your fingers and your toes, and allow yourself to feel yourself being comfortable and quiet. And listen to music. Bring a headset. Bring soothing music. Bring things to distract you, so that you can, if you're doing needlepoint, or if you're doing, they'll probably won't let you run with a hook these days.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's considered a weapon.
Right. Bring a book that is something that you really enjoy reading, or write letters. Do your Christmas cards. Do something that takes some attention and will keep you focused on just being present right now. And if you fly with someone, tell the person that you are a bit anxious and that you might like to hold their hand, that you might like to just relax with them.
Even a stranger?
It's interesting. People are getting to know each other pretty well on flights these days.
It's true, isn't it? Because people are actually, they're checking each other out.
They are.
A lot more than they ever did. And there's almost a feeling of camaraderie on an airplane, because of recent events that didn't exist before.
Yes, and in the days when you'd kind of, the accidental tourist feeling there, you get on with your book and not say a word to anyone, now people are greeting each other, and they are talking to each other and getting to know one another. And generally, we're less anxious when we're with someone else. So,
and my sister met her husband on an airplane, so you never know.
There you go.
All right, well, let's talk about how the holidays are going to be different this year. What about people who opt not to fly or just have that nesting instinct kick in, and they decide to stay at home? Many of them are going to feel terribly guilty, aren't they?
Well, they probably will feel terribly guilty, but I'd like to ask people to try not to feel so guilty.
Because who needs guilt on top of everything else?
Exactly right. And these are unusual times, and people are more anxious, people are more intense. those who are together are really looking forward to being together with their family and valuing and appreciating their families, their friends. If you can't be with your family, I would ask people to do things in their community and become part of their community. Volunteer, ask people whom they know who are not able to fly home to join them and to really reach out, because it is a time when people need to be together.
And if they are together, if they do join their families for the holidays, I would think that the pressure is more intense than ever to get along, because sometimes you have this idyllic image of what it'll be like to spend the holidays with your family, and then you don't realize how you regress to your, age 16, or there are all these conflicts that sometimes surface. And I would think that given the times, those might even be exacerbated.
Well, they may be exacerbated, but have realistic expectations and understand what it is you'd like to get out of the holidays. And you can tell your folks or your children, who's ever doing the traveling, what it is you'd really like to do. And I think we all need to give everyone a little bit more slack and don't jump at the comment that might be the knife comment that you might have jumped at last year, and just understand that people are a little bit on edge. They are, again, this new normalcy of having feelings that they're not necessarily used to having, which now are very normal for these more anxious times, and understand that there's really something that we have to be thankful for, and that is that we do have a family, that we are together, and also understand that everyone is going through loss, so that the country is experiencing tremendous loss. And we generally are more caring and more careful with one another, and especially those we love, when we realize that. So give each other a little bit of leeway, but have realistic expectations.
All right, Dale Atkins, thank you very much. Nice to see you, Dale.
Thank
Up
you.
next, Toy Test 2001. This morning, we're going to talk about the best presents for the preschool set. But first, this is Today on NBC.
Why are more and more people test driving the Hyundai Elantra? Ask Michael Edo.
I drive 1,000 miles a week, and the gas mileage is outstanding.
And the new 2002 Elantra has so many standard features, including front and side airbags, air conditioning, stereo cassette, and power package. Plus the freedom of the Hyundai Advantage, America's best warranty plan. At just $12,994, it's easy to see why more people are driving home the new Hyundai Elantra. Ask any Hyundai owner for their take on Hyundai value. Then test drive the Elantra yourself.
Hi, I'm Jim Donovan,
And I'm Deb James.
and we're excited to host Portland's newest radio station.
It's called The Fish, and it's at 104.1 FM. The Fish plays positive and uplifting music that's encouraging to you and your whole family.
Today's Christian music 24 hours a day.
Try the new 104.1 FM, The Fish.
Meet the students at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry.
Draco Malfoy. It's true then. Harry Potter has come to Hogwarts. He's rather disagreeable, isn't he?
Ronald Weasley.
That's wizard's chess.
Hermione Granger.
I checked this out for a bit of light reading. This is light.
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. Mr. Potter. Warner Brothers Pictures presents Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Rated PG.
Next on the Get Real Challenge, Dr. Phil lasers in on Amanda.
First off, I find what you say to be an interesting choice of words. Maybe it's just me, but that sounds like rape.
Then Dr. Phil names the self-defeating games we all play.
The last two are really ugly.
What's keeping you from getting real? Don't miss the Get Real Challenge next Oprah.
Today at 4 on News Channel 8.
Today's Toy Test 2001 is brought to you by Kmart, where this holiday, low prices are our gift to you.
This morning, more of our special week-long series, today's Toy Test 2001, with the top toys for preschoolers. Now, before you start your holiday shopping, you're going to want to take a look at this. Consumer specialist Herb Weisbaum had kids from across the country try out hundreds of toys, and he's here to tell us which ones they enjoyed playing with the most. It's very funny, Herb. Our stage manager is going like this. Shh.
They're kids.
They're kids. They're not going to be quiet. That's what they do, right? Yeah. Now,
Good morning.
Before we get started, tell us again, just recap briefly, the toy test.
This was our biggest toy test ever, 390 different toys. We had 7,500 kids across the country play with them for 4 weeks. So the toys we're about to show you, have long-term appeal, they're durable, and the kids like them for a long time, and they're sturdy.
Okay.
And these are the winners in the preschool category. The teachers rated them for us twice during that period, so we know these things are
preschool
good.
being?
Oh, like 3 to 5.5-ish.
Okay, so
something like
I'm
that.
paying close attention
Yes.
to this now. Now,
this was the winner.
Look at this baby.
2 ride-on vehicles won. This was the winner. This is the John Deere Gator. This is a replica of a John Deere 4x2.
I love this thing.
And we had some of the kids go outside. There's Brock and Natalie. They were riding around the plaza a few minutes ago and amusing the crowd out there. It goes forward and it goes backward.
Right.
And
pretty happy about it.
Brock is going to be a future politician.
You go. He's waving. He's got the waves out. I like it.
So the kids just love it. They're in control. You can have a friend with you, and you can haul stuff around out in the back and then dump it when you want. 120 pounds it can carry, by the way, holds on there.
And what does this go for?
This is the most expensive toy we had in the winter category, $300.
Wow, little
it's from
pricey.
Peg Perigo.
And then there's also another one. You've
Yes,
got
that is called the Caterpillar Tough Loader. It's one of the Fisher-Price Power Wheel series. And the cool thing about this is, as you see Charles there riding around, is you get to steer this thing with your handles. So you have a gas pedal, and you have 2 handles that you can steer it around with. And of course, then you have that front end loader. So if you were to go to the big gigantic pile of mulch that we just happen to put in the middle of the plaza or whatever, you could lift it up and do it. But the kids like the idea of it's a replica of the thing that they see.
And roughly how much is that?
That is roughly $160.
Okay.
And that's from Fisher-Price.
Now we move into the dollhouse category.
Yes. What's going on here, and Serena and Charles Charles is back again, is this is Fisher-Price took the dollhouse and extended the play value by putting a stable in it, which, by the way, the teachers told us appealed to both boys and girls because there was the horseplay action. So it's a 6-room dollhouse. They have a good time. And now, here's the little magic ingredient. If you take the horse and you take one of the characters and be real quiet, they click.
Oh!
So the horse whinnies. Nice. It's got that secret little magic chip. Easy, big fella. So, and the other nice thing is, Al, that the whole thing, if you pull this up, it all folds up for carrying or moving to some other place. $55 in Fisher-Price. Again, it appeals to both. It's mainly for girls, but it appeals to both boys and girls.
Right.
Okay?
Now, we move on to the little tykes.
This is the Home Improvements Workshop. And you see Brock playing with that. Brock, here, show us how the light works. Look at that. It lights up, Al, so you can see all your different projects. It's tough. It's sturdy. You got pegboards. You got different things to do. Can I flip it around here?
Sure.
The neat thing is that there's things to build. You actually put on the flower box. You actually put on this is the only toy I've ever seen with a water spigot on it before.
Nice.
Now, Al, here's a hammer.
Okay.
Pretend you're a child. You got a nail. I left that for you to finish up so you can see how the play value. Huh?
Nice, huh? How about that? Wow.
It is very good for developing motor skills.
And you know what? It's also got a little manual that shows kids how to pull their pants down just a little bit for that crack in the back. Anyway.
I get it. That was a joke. $50 from Little Tykes. This is the Talking Fashion Vanity, another Little Tykes toy. Natalie is combing her hair. And the cool thing about this is when you pull out things, it talks to you. First you have to turn it on, Al. Put it back.
Oh.
Okay, so you turn it on.
Hi, it's time to get ready.
Nope.
Your hair is beautiful.
See? Now pull it out now. Oh, would you like a lipstick, Al?
No, that's then we start to move into lifestyle issues.
This is for Ted. So, and the other thing is on the back, it has a mirror. So you can see yourself all dressed up when you're done. This is from the Little Tykes folks as well, $50. The kids loved it. They just kept playing with it over, and it comes with a stool, as you see as well. Okay?
Now,
our
this is
educational winner.
very big in my house. Bob the Builder.
And the cool thing about Bob the Builder is that he talks to you, and you get to do different things. So we'll turn him on.
I'm Bob.
Okay, so watch. You push the screw. I mean the peg.
Yes, we can. Large nail.
Let's do a screw, Al.
Small screw.
I guess large screw.
Watch the drill.
Drill handle.
Lights up. And then it also has number counting.
4, 6.
Wow.
So they know Bob the Builder, $25. It's from Tiger Electronics. They have a lot of fun with their friend Bob the Builder, learning things as they go, as you see on the floor there.
Now, let me ask you, with the Caterpillar and the Gator over there, is there a cross appeal across genders as far as these Power Wheels type things?
Yeah, we found out that both the boys and the girls like to play with it together. I would say it probably skews a little bit more to boys. And as you can tell in the toy world, there are boy toys. And you go down the aisles, you know there's pink toys, there's blue toys. But a lot of the toys, especially if a brother or sister combination, they will appeal to both. And by the way, since I know these are pricey, Friday we have bargain toys. Toys for under $20.
Nice.
Because everybody can't afford a $300 ride-on toy.
But we are seeing more cross-gender toys these days.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a little bit more. But there's still separation, but there's some that where it both work. Yeah, got to be honest with you.
I hear you. Now, kids, we want to thank you. Thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it. Now, if you'd like to find out more about the results of today's Toy Test 2001. Log on to our website at today.msnbc.com. Tomorrow, Herb will take all these batteries out so we don't hear all this stuff. Then he's also going to show us which toys rated best for toddlers. We're back in a moment, but first, this is Today. It's so noisy in here on NBC.
Now get 7-year or 100,000-mile powertrain protection and 0% APR on 2002 Dodge Ram.
Why search the whole galaxy for quick meal ideas? Come to Albertsons. Ah, the power of cheese.
Katie, coming up from Bell Harbor here in Queens, we're going to have the latest on the investigation into the crash of American Airlines Flight 587. We'll talk to Bob Hager and Ned Clark, an aviation safety expert. Katie?
Also, Matt, we're going to talk about dealing with grief. We'll speak with a grief counselor who's helped many families who have been affected by this recent crash. Perhaps he'll have some helpful things for all of us. But first, these messages and your local news.
Go to Amazon.com/NBC for your holiday gift shopping. Find great toys and get free shipping on orders over $100 on Amazon.com/NBC.
Tonight on NBC Nightly News, the final moments of Flight 587. How could this happen? As investigators move forward, families are supposed to be going home for the holidays. But what do you do now? Many don't feel safe. What will it take to get you to fly again? NBC Nightly News tonight.
Nothing ventured, everything gained. The 2002 Lincoln Navigator. Now with 0% APR financing for 36 months. 3 years of interest-free financing that lets you keep your money in the bank while you pursue other interests. And with 300 horsepower and 4 tons of towing capacity, you can pursue those interests with vigor. But this all-for-nothing proposition ends soon. So hurry to your Lincoln dealer today.
Check your traffic live from 3 to 6 today on KGW.com. This is a News Channel 8 update.
Good morning, everyone. It's 8:56, currently 51 degrees here in downtown Portland. I'm Brenda Braxton along with Hank Stack. Here's what's making news. The early information about the cause of yesterday's American Airlines crash in New York points strongly to mechanical failure. That's according to investigators. This morning, they're studying the cockpit voice recorder. Today at noon, we'll have the latest word from transportation officials. The gunfire heard in Kabul today is not from battle. It's part of the Northern Alliance celebration. Opposition forces captured the capital city and met little resistance when they rolled into town. We'll have the latest on the Taliban troops today at noon. Also coming up, the sluggish economy and increased security following the 9/11 attacks are taking their toll on one of the biggest high-tech trade shows out there. See how Comdex is coping. Plus, got milk? Find out why researchers say drinking milk may help prevent a certain type of cancer. We'll have that story and much more today at noon. Right now, we'll check in with Dave Selesky. He has a quick look at a stormy weather forecast.
Boy, it is indeed, Brenda. Plenty of clouds out there already, and rain is on the way. Look at the satellite loop over the past 12 hours, and look how fast and how big this strong, powerful storm is moving into the Pacific Northwest coast. We're going to switch up now, go to our water vapor imagery. Tells you how much moisture's in those clouds, and take a look at this system as it races in towards the Oregon coast. We're going to see a fair amount of rain out of this system. later on this morning and certainly this afternoon and this evening. And high winds are also in the forecast along the Oregon coast. Our forecast today locally, Portland and Vancouver, cloudy skies, rain developing. Southeast winds 15 to 25 miles an hour. Late in the day, wind gusts could approach 40 miles an hour. Our high today, 56 degrees. Now, Brenda and Hank, back to you.
Thanks, Dave. We'll be back at 9:26 this morning with more local news. Hope you can join us.
Over the river and through the woods, to grandmother's house we go.
Now head home for the holidays in any new Jeep vehicle and take along the security of 7-year or 100,000-mile powertrain protection. Plus, through November 19th, 0% APR on select '02 models.
Hooray for the fun, it's the pudding done. Hooray for the pumpkin pie.
Dateline Tuesday. It's like nothing you've ever seen before. Witness to an exorcism on all-new Dateline tonight on NBC.
Buy a brand new Daewoo at Blue Chevrolet Daewoo as low as $94.75. That's Blue Chevrolet Daewoo in Hillsboro.
When I had to read out loud, I didn't know lots of the words. Like, I had trouble with island, so I had to sound it out. Inland. And I know I sounded dumb.
At Sylvan Learning Center, we guarantee your child's reading skills will improve 1 full grade level in only 5 months.
Now, I know all the words and I can just read it straight through, no problem.
Call Sylvan in Portland, Gresham, Milwaukee, or Vancouver.
Dark a shame, darling, dark a shame. Thank you for all the joy and pain. Picture show, second balcony.
Find great values at the Mercedes 100th anniversary event. Our anniversary gift to you.
Go Dutch treat, you were...
9 o'clock now on this Tuesday morning, November 13th, 2001. You're looking at the fiery aftermath of the crash of American Airlines Flight 587 in Belle Harbor, Queens, an area known as the Rockaways. It happened on Monday morning at 9:17 a.m., just a few minutes after that flight took off from New York's John F. Kennedy International Airport. There's a lot that we don't know as you take a look at a live shot of the area this morning. A lot we don't know, some things we do know. 260 people on board that flight, all were killed. 6 to 9 people on the ground listed as missing. However, at this moment, officials say they've recovered some 265 bodies, which would indicate that 5 on the ground have been recovered. Still no answers as to why that plane broke apart before it crashed into a block of houses here in this middle-class neighborhood in Queens. I'm Matt Lauer in Queens this morning. Katie's back in Studio 1A in New York City. Katie, good morning.
Hey, Matt, good morning. I know you're going to be talking with an expert to at least theorize about what might have gone wrong.
Yeah, one of the puzzling situations here is that the tail of the plane was found several blocks from the impact site. The engines were found separated from the fuselage. And so, yeah, we'll be talking to Bob Hager about that and Ned Clark as well, coming up in this half hour.
Also, Matt, we're going to speak with a rabbi who was down at the site of the crash right after it happened, hoping to give people advice on how to help them through yet another tragedy. He'll be here to tell us how he is a grief counselor and how he helps. Also, a bit later on, we're going to find out how this latest tragedy will affect holiday travel. And former Reagan speechwriter Peggy Noonan will be here. She'll be talking about her new biography of her old boss. It's called When Character Was King. Matt?
All right, Katie, thank you very much. NBC's aviation expert, of course, is Robert Hager, who's been following this story since yesterday morning. Bob, good morning to you.
Morning, Matt. Well, investigators have been working overnight with the cockpit voice recorder, and they can tell from that no one broke in the cockpit. There were no hijackers, but they can't tell much else from it so far, and they haven't yet found the other recorder, the flight data recorder. Meantime, they're very interested in how this plane came apart. More about that in a moment, but first, the wreckage, the scene of the crash. These new close-up pictures of the aftermath show the horror of the scene, the wreckage, the smoke, large numbers of fire and rescue workers, and the grim job of recovering bodies. Investigators now say the plane was airborne less than 2 minutes when it dropped from the sky. One or both its engines apparently separating before impact, and other pieces of the plane peeling off as well.
It looks like a war zone. It definitely looks like a war zone. If you've seen anything on television, it's just terrible.
This engine found some distance away from the fuselage. It came to rest only 6 feet from volatile gasoline pumps. And a large piece of the plane's tail brought up from the waters of Jamaica Bay. NTSB Chairman Marion Blakey said there was no distress call from pilots, no mayday.
Some of the early indications we have all point in the direction of this being an accident, no evidence of criminal activity.
Relatives of the victims grieve at Kennedy Airport and at the plane's intended destination, too, in the Dominican Republic. As back in the U.S., investigators plan to spend this day poring over wreckage, looking for anything that may help explain this terrible crash. So what we know here is that some key parts of this plane came off. Both of the engines separate from the fuselage and the tail section here. So you have to figure out what could cause all of that to come apart. Could an engine start it? And the speculation is that more likely it would be something back here in the tail that would be catastrophic enough to throw the plane into some kind of wild dive, and the forces then would cause these other parts to come off. But that's just very, very early speculation. And then you have the whole issue of what was it that caused this? Was it an explosion of some kind? Was it a mechanical failure? Could it have been some terrorism? We just don't know at this point. Matt?
But again, Bob, no chance for the pilot to issue a mayday, no chance to avoid land when there's an ocean and a bay in close proximity. So whatever happened very quickly.
Very, very fast. I mean, he's only 2 minutes off, less than 2 minutes from the time he lifted off. So it was very quick, and the crew may not have had any idea what was going on.
NBC's Bob Hager. Bob, thanks very much as always. Let's go back to the studio and Ann.
All right, thanks a lot, Matt. Also in the news this morning, a dramatic turn in the war in Afghanistan. Today, opposition forces took control of the capital city of Kabul. Northern Alliance troops are rolling into the city freely today, welcomed by cheering people, some of whom immediately shaved off their beards required by the Taliban. The Taliban fled without fighting, but they also took 2 Americans, Dana Curry and Heather Mercer, along with 6 other detained aid workers. Earlier on today, Mercer's father said he believes he will get his daughter back.
This is just another event in this long saga, but I'm still confident that sooner or later they're going to be released safely.
Heather Mercer and the others are being held on charges of preaching Christianity in the Muslim country. President Bush had urged the Northern Alliance to stay out of Kabul until a new political framework could be established. Well, the political situation will be a focus of the president's summit today with Russian President Vladimir Putin, who arrived in the U.S. last night. They will also discuss a significant reduction in the nuclear arsenals of both countries. Trace amounts of anthrax have been discovered in the offices of 3 more U.S. senators. A total of 11 Senate office suites have now been contaminated in the Hart Senate office building. An anthrax-filled letter sent to Senator Tom Daschle was opened in the building almost a month ago. Police believe the Daschle letter is the source of all the contamination. And the American Red Cross is offering a refund to anyone who has donated money to the organization since the September 11th terrorist strikes. The relief agency came under fire after it announced that not all of the money would go to the victims of the attacks. It is now 6 minutes past the hour. Let's now turn back to Katie.
All right, Ann, thanks very much. And we're going to go outside for a check of the weather with Mr. Roker. Howdy, Al.
I'm doing okay. Howdy, Katie. We're out here. And your mom is the National Multiple Sclerosis Mom of the Year?
Yes, sir.
What's your mom's name?
Molly Wood.
You want to say hi to Molly?
Hi, Mom.
And is this your sister here?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, that would be yes. And is that, I'm afraid to ask, is that your dad back there?
That's Dad. That's my dad. This is my grandpa.
All right. Grandpa. All right, Grandpa. High five, Grandpa. All right. Let's take a look, show you what's going on as far as your weather is concerned. And we got another Pacific storm working its way in. And this one is going to be dumping a lot of rain from Washington all the way down to Oregon. You're talking about as much as 3 to 5 inches of rain along the coast. Gusts of 65 miles per hour, and we're talking gale force winds. That's what's going on around the country. Here's what's happening in your neck of the woods.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to a Tuesday. We've got mostly cloudy skies overhead at this time. There are a few showers that are developing down in the south part of the valley. And look at the light there on the right-hand side of the picture. Just shows you how the wind is already picking up across the metropolitan area. Okay, here's a look right now at our satellite loop. Very strong system coming in for this time of the year. So we're going to see cloudy skies, rain developing across the region, and gusty winds this afternoon. Peak gusts could reach 40 miles an hour late in the afternoon. Our high today should reach 56 degrees.
That's your latest weather. Now let's go back to Matt.
All right, Al, thank you very much. Now more on the questions of what happened to American Airlines Flight 587. Ned Clark is one of the nation's most prominent experts on airplane crash investigations. Mr. Clark, good morning to you.
Good morning, Matt.
Let's talk about the fact that the tail section, or a large tail section of the tail of this aircraft, ended up in the bay behind me. Both engines separated and ended up blocks from where the fuselage finally made impact. What could have caused that to happen?
I'm not sure what would have caused that to happen at this point. I think the distribution note tells us that we're dealing with an in-flight breakup of the aircraft rather than what some of the initial reports were, which was perhaps a catastrophic engine failure alone, which would have made the aircraft flyable. But without the vertical stabilizer on the aircraft, it was unflyable, and it made no difference whether the engine was lost or not at that point once the vertical stabilizer was gone.
I've talked to some people, Mr. Clark, who've seen at least one of the engines up close, and they were all kind of struck by the fact that there are no major signs of fire on that engine. Would that be unusual?
It depends on what type of failure you're talking about, but in terms of a catastrophic, uncontained failure of the engine, that kind of rules that out. It says that we didn't have essentially a shrapnel-type explosive uncontained failure. And it raises more questions, I think, than not. But I think one of the things that it certainly raises the possibility that the engines departed the aircraft as a result of severe gyrations that could have been brought about by loss of the vertical stabilizer of the aircraft. So rather than being a causative factor, loss of the engines might have been a result of another failure of the aircraft, perhaps towards the tail.
Several of the eyewitnesses talk about hearing a sonic boom type noise before the plane made impact. Can you shed any light on what they may have actually heard?
Yes, it's not unusual in the case of major structural failures of a large surface, for example, a wing or a tail of the aircraft, that there's a large crack or a boom when that part finally fails. You can think in terms, if you start small with a pencil and you simply snap a pencil, that makes a small noise. Snap a 2x4, it's a bigger noise, and then imagine snapping a major part of the aircraft, for example, the engine pylon, part of a wing or a tail. It makes a very large boom, which can easily be mistaken for what they were describing as a sonic boom. It can also be mistaken for an explosion.
We were talking with Bob Hager about how this event happened so quickly. The Airbus 300 has a flight control system that is different from other aircrafts. I've heard it described as a fly-by-wire system. Can you explain how that would have affected the pilot's ability to handle this situation?
Well, one of the features of the fly-by-wire system is that the pilot does not have his flight controls connected directly to the surfaces on the aircraft. All of his commands go through a computer, and the computer depends on knowing some things about the flight condition of the airplane, for example, whether it's in the landing configuration, takeoff, or cruise. And it has certain programs that it processes based on a pilot's commands. So the pilot doesn't have direct control of the surfaces on the aircraft, for example, the way he does on, let's say, a 737 or a 727, a couple of our older Boeing jets. So
does that slow down reaction time?
Well, it actually may or may not give the proper reactions to the control surface. By proper, I mean those that the pilot intends to put in into the control surfaces. The airplane simply may not respond as the pilot demands that it respond. And this has been the result of at least 2 accidents of the aircraft where there was some mismatch between the pilot's intentions and what the computer interpreted those intentions to be.
Ned Clark. Mr. Clark, thank you very much for the information. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And we're back in a moment, right after these messages.
Dinner is mad.
Mad? I'm going crazy!
He bought this plastic wrap to keep his fruit salad fresh.
Only I can't get it from here to the food!
Jerry, you should have bought Glad cling wrap. Glad unrolls smooth and easy and clings tight when you need it to.
Comes out easy?
Yep.
And clings tight?
Absolutely.
Hello, Glad cling wrap.
Jerry, don't get mad. Get Glad. Glad cling wrap. One for you and one for me.
Introducing a new Nestle Toll House Break-Apart cookie dough. Chocolate chip cookies with a layer of fudge filling. Just break, bake, and get Toll House cookies with warm, creamy fudge inside. More in your Toll House cookie to love in no time at all. Chocolate chip with fudge and chocolate chip with caramel. New from Nestle Toll House.
I'm not eating that. Is this a joke? For real, I'm not eating that.
Too much wine with dinner? Serve up Roni, delicious rice-a-roni. And you'll hear,
More, please.
Roni, leave the wine behind.
Everyone's looking for that miracle cream. Mine's new excellent hair color from L'Oreal. My non-drip cream just got better. Now it protects non-stop with lots of extra conditioner for beautiful color and no grays. New excellence from L'Oreal Paris.
If you have a little difficulty bathing or care for someone who does, take comfort.
Take comfort, take comfort. There's comfort bath, take comfort.
Comfort Bath. Thick as a washcloth, disposable Comfort Bath can be microwaved for a warm, soothing bath. And Comfort Bath won't dry out skin like soap.
There's comfort bath, take comfort.
Look for Comfort Bath at your drugstore.
Nothing turns the ordinary into the extraordinary, like a packet of Hidden Valley Ranch. It's flu season.
Anything else I can get you?
No, it's gonna lie here.
You sure? Cup of tea?
No, I'm fine. Luckily, there's Tylenol Flu with powerful flu medicines plus extra strength Tylenol to help you feel better fast.
Rabbi Avi Weiss has seen this kind of tragedy before. 5 years ago, he counseled families at the crash of TWA Flight 800. On Monday, Rabbi Weiss was at the site of the crash of American Airlines Flight 587 to once again lend his services to the people who needed it the most. Rabbi Weiss, good morning. Thanks so much for being here. You know, I'm just curious. Here are a whole group of people who have suffered a sudden, catastrophic, violent loss. I would think they would be in so much shock initially that they almost wouldn't be receptive to someone like you. How do you walk into a situation like this and help people?
Well, the key is not to talk much. The key is to listen and to listen very, very closely. For many of us, it's difficult to tolerate pain. But when you're in this situation, one has to try not only to tolerate the pain, but acknowledge the pain, understand the pain, empathize with the pain. And you do that in two ways. The first way that you do it is by making space, allowing those who are grieving to wail and to feel whatever they're feeling. And in the same breath, you try to be there. Sometimes the best way of communication is through appropriate holding, hugging. It's a time of tremendous loneliness for those who are suffering, and the response to that loneliness is the expression of love and presence.
You know, here you are, a perfect stranger, hugging another stranger in just excruciating pain. Are some of these people not willing to share their pain with a complete stranger? And if so, I guess you have to respect that.
Absolutely. If that happens, you step back. One has to know how to step forward and also how to step back. I didn't feel that yesterday. I was at the Ramada Inn all day. I found people to be so open. In that kind of situation, when a person asks why, several people asked why, I don't view it at the moment of grief, at that intense moment, so much as a question, but as a cry of agony. And if it's not a question, you don't offer answers. If it's a cry of agony, what you do is you say, I care. You try to be reassuring and express friendship and love.
I understand that people were gathered around large tables at the Ramada. And can you just sort of describe the scene for us?
Well, They're gathered around tables, and we try to reach out and show love, and then people are brought upstairs, and they have to go through certain moments, certain particulars.
I would think that it would be comforting for them. You know, you talk about grief being a very solitary and lonely experience. To at least have others who are in the same situation must be enormously, or at least on one level, I mean, nothing can take the pain away, but to have sort of a communal experience must be helpful.
Yeah, it certainly was, and I sensed that it was different than after TWA. I think it has something to do with it being after the Twin Towers. Because it was after the Twin Towers, we're in the mode of grieving. Somehow it made it different. We're also in the mode of people giving much more. There was a sense, an atmosphere of tremendous giving. But the key for a counselor is not to try to remove the grief, God forbid, not to remove the darkness. I often compare this to walking into a dark room for the first time. The first time you walk in, you trip all over the furniture. After a week and a month, you walk into the room, it's still dark, but you know where the furniture is. The goal is not to remove the pain.
It's to acknowledge it, really.
It's to acknowledge it, and in time, people will be able to live with the pain. In the beginning, you don't talk much. After a day or two, a week, perhaps a counselor can ask questions so that a person could speak about the deceased. The real challenge of death is to see to it that the person who has died perhaps can continue to live. That's really the goal.
Will these people, will you see to it, or will someone see to it that they'll continue to get the assistance, the counseling that they need during this time?
My belief is that most are involved in their own communities, and once they're in this center, they can go back to their respective communities and to their respective clergy leaders and people who can help them accordingly.
It must be so emotionally draining for you to deal with people in just the depths of despair, and to do it repeatedly, not only with many people, but with a variety of situations.
It is emotionally draining, but it pales when one considers the individuals who have been victimized. When you meet a family who's lost 5 members, a person who lost a father and a son, infants who have died, all I could think is those poor people. And if people could sense in your eyes, in your expressions, that you really care, that's what it's about. That's what it's about. It's not about talking.
And no
it's
wonder
about caring.
And no wonder you have no answers when they say why, because there are no answers in many of these cases.
Certainly no answers now. Maybe in time, but not now.
Rabbi Avi Weiss, I'm so sorry.
It's
I'm
okay.
messing up your name repeatedly. Thank you so much for coming in. We really appreciate it. And we'll be back with more of Today right after this.
Alert! You have reached the end of the internet. You have seen everything there is to see. Please go back. Now.
Introducing DirecTV DSL. So fast, you'll see more of the internet than ever before. Now get 3 months for $19.99 per month. Call 1-800-BEST-DSL.
I thought you were surfing the internet.
Yeah, I finished it.
Asthma was watching my kids grow up and not always being able to participate.
Advair is an asthma product that's clinically proven to improve lung function and increase symptom-free days to help you do more of the things you want to do. That's because Advair is the first and only product to effectively treat the 2 main components of asthma, airway constriction and inflammation. Just 1 inhalation, morning and night. Advair won't replace fast-acting inhalers for sudden symptoms and should not be taken more than twice a day. People switching from an oral steroid like prednisone to Advair, which contains an inhaled steroid, need to be especially careful. While adjusting to the switch, your body may not be as able to heal after surgery, infection, or serious injury. If you have heart or blood pressure problems, tell your doctor. Some people may experience a change in heart rhythm. See your doctor if your asthma does not improve. Ask your doctor if Advair is right for you. Advair, because life should take your breath away, not asthma.
Eclipse Gum, now in more powerful winter-freshened spearmint. With Eclipse, it's lights out bad breath.
After 26 years of marriage,
Tom and I realized that we're a little different from each other, except for one thing. Our doctor says we should both take a single 81 milligram St. Joseph aspirin, the dosage doctors recommend most for aspirin therapy.
Do you want your parties to be really special? Try Rocher, the European speciality your guests will adore. Smooth chocolate, crunchy hazelnut, a luxurious taste sensation. It's more of a party with Rocher.
Now there's an anti-aging breakthrough that wasn't found in a lab. It was found in a plant. Almay-kynogen is different from AHAs and retinoids. Found in nature, it helps reduce signs of aging without irritation. Almay, the pure source for beautiful.
Katie, as you can imagine, a long day ahead for investigators here. They'll continue sifting through the rubble, looking, of course, for the flight data recorder and also for those who are still listed as missing. Katie?
All right, Matt, that and much more when we continue. But first, these messages and your local news.
A duke from the 19th century, a woman from the 21st. This Christmas, I found a crack in the fabric of time. Their worlds collide.
You're
Meg Ryan, Hugh Jackman,
This is beautiful.
The very word for which I was searching.
Kate and Leopold, rated PG-13.
Create your own love story like Kate and Leopold with a romantic trip to the destination of your choice. Visit BlueMountain.com now for your chance to win.
Waiting for menopause to worry about the risk of osteoporosis? If you're past...
Need room, and you need to take advantage of this once-in-a-century offer, the Total Warehouse Clearance Sale. Only once, only now, and only at Parker in Beaverton and Thomasville in Lake Oswego.
Tonight, the tragedy of Flight 587. As investigators move forward, families are supposed to be going home for the holidays. But what do you do now? NBC Nightly News tonight.
And once again, you're looking at all the nice faces outside our studio windows here in Rockefeller Plaza on this Tuesday morning, the 13th day of November. Just 15 days until the official Christmas tree lighting ceremony takes place. It's always an exciting night around here, and obviously people are hard at work getting the tree trimmed and ready to go. How many lights in all?
There'll be 30,000 lights, Judy. 5 miles of wire.
Wow, you're all prepped. You got your statistics right in your pocket.
That's right. It's burned into my memory.
Anyway, I know you and Ann will be lighting the tree. And who are some of the special guests? Do you know yet?
We're going to find out, I think, tomorrow.
That's right.
There's a big
We're
lineup.
going to unveil it to us.
Oh, good. Well,
And I'll share it.
oh, good. You have to let us know. Inside Studio 1, I'm Katie Couric, along with Ann Curry and Al Roker. Matt is on his way home from the site of the crash of American Airlines Flight 587. Meanwhile, coming up in this half hour, former White House insider and best-selling author Peggy Noonan has written a new biography of Ronald Reagan called When Character Was King. Peggy will be here in just a few minutes to tell us all about that. Ann?
Katie, we're also going to talk with the widows of 2 men who lost their lives 9 weeks ago today when the Twin Towers collapsed. Now the women are fighting to get the Victims of Terrorism Tax Relief Act passed. They're going to tell us about that in just a few moments. They feel very strongly. Both these women, neither of them have been activists, and they've been moved to action now.
All right. Also, Al, you're going to tell us about the new face of travel, right?
That's right. I mean, after the idea of everything that's happened, if you're thinking about going home for the holidays and that's just a trip over the river and through the woods, you're probably going to go ahead with your plans. But if it means boarding a plane, you might be having second thoughts. We're going to find out how recent terrorism and Monday's crash could affect you and the travel industry.
All right. But first, you have another check of the weather?
That's right. As we take a look for today, we've got a nice one here in the Northeast. Plenty of sunshine, but really wet this afternoon in the Pacific Northwest from Washington all the way into Northern California. Wet weather in the Rockies. And then for tomorrow, you can expect, again, sunshine here in the east. We've got some showers around the Great Lakes, more wet weather in the Pacific Northwest, and some heavy thunderstorms in West Texas. That's what's going on around the country. Here's what's happening in your neck of the woods.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to a Tuesday, and it's the calm before the storm up in the Oregon Cascades. Cloudy skies there right now and dry at this time. There have been some rain showers around the region this morning, but I want to show you our satellite loop. And Look how fast this system right here is approaching the Oregon coast. Very strong, very wet and windy system moving on in throughout the morning and into the afternoon hours. Here's the water vapor imagery showing you all the moisture coming on shore. Our forecast today, cloudy skies, rain developing, strong winds, and a high of 56.
That's your latest weather. Now back to Katie.
Okay, Al, thanks so much. Up next, former Reagan speechwriter Peggy Noonan talks about her new biography about her old boss, the Gipper. But first, these messages.
Ocean Spray is fortified with as much vitamin C as orange juice, so it's good for your whole body. Just leave the juicing to us. Ocean Spray. Crave the wave. It's LensCrafter's best $99 offer ever. Right now, get a complete pair of glasses with DuraLens, our most scratch-resistant plastic lens for only $99. The $99 DuraLens event. This is one you don't want to miss. Offer ends November 24th.
These babies are not models. They were conceived using the ClearPlan Easy Fertility Monitor. It unmistakably tells you more fertile days each cycle than any leading method, so you have the best chance to get pregnant. ClearPlan, clear results.
It was my grandson's birthday. He just turned 3. We're going to move him out of his crib and buy him a big boy bed. I was on chemo then, and I was exhausted. I said to the doctor, I need help. I'm on a mission.
If you're a chemotherapy patient and feel tired and weak, you may be anemic. Ask your doctor about Procrit. Procrit is a natural way to regain red blood cells lost during chemotherapy. And more red blood cells can mean more strength.
Oh, this is a great one. This is a good one.
Procrit is proven and safe. In studies, only diarrhea and edema occurred more often with Procrit than placebo. Procrit is for patients with non-myeloid cancers.
How do you like it up here now?
Good.
Call now and learn how Procrit can help you get back the strength you need.
See? What'd I tell you?
Your strength for living.
He takes a lot of energy, but I never get tired of him.
At Scott, we just made the best Scott towel ever.
With new wide ridges.
See, only Scott has these unique ridges that absorb like no other towel.
From shrimp to sea bass.
A better Scott towel just makes more sense.
New Scott towels with wide ridges.
Are you sure you followed the recipe? How old is this? Was there a recipe?
Too much wine with dinner? Serve up Roni, pasta Roni, fettuccine Alfredo, and you'll hear...
More, please!
Roni, leave the wine behind.
It's hard to believe it was 21 years ago when Ronald Reagan was elected to his first term as President of the United States, and since then much has changed and a greater understanding of President Reagan has emerged. Now in her new book, When Character Was King, Peggy Noonan, Reagan's former speechwriter, shares personal stories from his family and friends. Peggy Noonan, great to see you.
Thank you for having me on.
Well, you're welcome. Now, why another book about Ronald Reagan? It seems like he is one president, much beloved, many quarters, maligned in others, but he's been written about extensively. Why did you see the need?
Well, two things happened. One was that I was going to write a book of simple anecdotes about him that had never been told, that I thought were charming and funny and captured the guy. But the more I wrote about the anecdotes, the more I put them in context, the more I saw what I was really writing was ultimately a story of his life. And I had to stop and think for a minute, do I want to do a small biography? And I decided, yeah, I don't want another generation to go by without young people and people who care about Reagan, and especially people who don't especially like him, being able to pick up a book and look at him and see him maybe in a new way.
Tell me about the participation by Mrs. Reagan and by some of his friends and family members. Were they willing to sit down and chew the fat with you and kind of tell old stories?
They were just fabulous. They were loving about the president because they love him. I got to tell you, Katie, when you talk to Reagan's family, members of his family, and his friends, I mean, friends from 40 years ago and from 50 years ago, like A.C. Lyles, who was a producer when Reagan started out as a young movie star out in Hollywood, their eyes fill with tears of passion because they want to tell you stories about him. They want to say who he is. I spoke to Mrs. Earl Jorgensen, Marion Jorgensen, who was a friend of Reagan's for, I suppose, half a century now. And her eyes just shined when she said, "You have to understand about this fellow. He never changed. I knew him when he was an actor. I knew him when he was thinking about going to politics. I knew him as governor. I knew him as president. He had an extraordinarily continuous nature. He was a good man who wasn't getting outside ego stuff to fill up his suit. He had a full suit, and he brought it into the world."
You
know
kind
what
of
I
track,
mean?
yeah, I do know what you mean. You track his evolution from a very young age, and it seems to me he was in a dysfunctional family before the word dysfunctional became fashionable. I mean, he had a very, very difficult upbringing, didn't he?
Katie, he did. I'll tell you, I researched all the presidents of this century and realized all of a sudden that Reagan came from the toughest background of any president in the past 100 years. No money, a dad who is a shoe salesman who can't keep a job, born in a rental in an obscure town in Illinois. His father, unfortunately, was an alcoholic. The person who saved Ronald Reagan, as Nancy Reagan told me, was his mom, Nell Wilson Reagan, who brought into the Reagan family a placid and loving spiritual and religious belief that filled her sons with a sense of optimism and a sense of responsibility for the world. But it is fascinating to me that he came from these two things that are not fully remarked upon. One is he came from nothing. Presidents come from something. He came from nothing. The other is that the place of and the impact of God and his relationship with God in his life was most extraordinary.
And of course, his relationship with his mother, as you point out, which was, I guess, ultimately replaced, ironically, by someone he referred to as Mommy.
Yes.
And that was Nancy Reagan.
Yeah.
I mean, after his first marriage to actress Jane Wyman. Tell me a little bit about their relationship and how it helped him to develop into the man he ultimately became, or continued to be, I guess, since you say he never changed.
Relationship, I'll tell you, I write in this book, in my first book, which was a memoir of the Reagan years, I was tough on Nancy. A lot of us young kids in the White House were tough on Nancy.
Gosh, everyone was tough on her at the beginning.
Everyone was. I got to tell you, you look back 20 years later and you see the price she paid to help her husband, to lift him up, and to help him move through the world. I asked her once, I asked Nancy Reagan, I said, you know, when you married him, you thought you were marrying a guy in the movies. She was an actress, he was an actor, and they'd be part of a local starocracy. And they'd bring up their kids in Los Angeles and be in the carpool and have a good, nice life in the local establishment. I said, instead, you entered history. Did you know that? She said, no. I said, how'd you do it? She said, well, you put one foot in front of the other and you accept what life gives.
And I think that's actually her philosophy to this day,
Totally.
dealing with her husband's illness. Before we go, I'd feel remiss not to talk about the strains that have occurred between the Reagan children and both parents. Where did that come from, and how do you account for that?
I don't fully account for it, but I quote Patty Davis, Ronald and Nancy Reagan's daughter, a great bit in the book, explaining how she didn't really understand her dad. She said, he was a magical father to have when I was a little girl because he thought artistically and magically. She said, as I got older and problems got more gnarly, he didn't understand me as well. Part of it, I think, Katie, was generational. The generation of people now in their 40s somehow expected their parents to understand them and negotiate a relationship with them. Ronald Reagan and Nancy Reagan came up from a generation where you didn't expect that of your parents. And so expectations were different, and tensions were very great for the poor Reagan kids. I feel for them now in a way I didn't 20 years ago. They were in a tough place. They were the kids of a president who was beloved in America, but not beloved in the areas where they were moving in the world.
Funny how a few years will change your perspective.
Oh,
right,
my gosh.
Peggy?
Honey, 20 years can change it all.
The book is about Ronald Reagan, and it's called When Character Was King. Certainly you're well qualified to write about him since you wrote for him for so long. Peggy Noonan, great to see you as always.
Katie, thanks.
Up next, what two widows of the World Trade Center tragedy are doing to help other victims' families. But first, this is Today on NBC.
Tonight at 5 in a Unit 8 investigation.
From poor ventilation systems to lead in pipes, Some of Oregon's school buildings are among the unhealthiest in the nation.
Find out what's being done tonight at 5 on News Channel 8, where the news comes first.
Next on the Get Real Challenge, Dr. Phil lasers in on Amanda.
Tell me about this abusive relationship. Does he yell and scream at you?
Yes.
Did he call you names? When's it going to stop, Amanda?
Next, Oprah.
Today at 4 on News Channel 8.
You know all the tricks to looking thin. Wear black. It's slimming. But when you're really heavy, black is the best camouflage. Looking in my closet, you'd think clothes only come in one color. I knew I had to call Jenny Craig.
Call Jenny Craig today at 1-800-JENNY20 and find out about our personalized programs with one-on-one counseling. And for a limited time, lose 20 pounds for $20, plus the cost of food.
Today, I'm 94 pounds lighter, and I can wear any color I want. Of course, I still wear a little black.
What if an internet provider asked you to draw from your imagination to envision taking your internet experience from everyday to extraordinary? You'd create AT&T WorldNet Service Plus. First, you'd start with the fastest logons and better connections. Then you'd add the latest features, like instant messaging and chat for real-time communication. Not to mention a cutting-edge feature like video email, so people can see and hear you every time you send a message. And you'd want live customer support. Now you can get it all from the provider-rated Best ISP by PC World. Call now for AT&T WorldNet Service Plus at just $16.95 a month. That's nearly 30% less than AOL. So call 1-800-WorldNet today and switch to AT&T WorldNet Service Plus. It's drawing lots of attention.
Nine weeks ago today, Ginny Bauer and Lisa Luckett were at home in New Jersey, leading their lives as wives and mothers. But all that changed forever when the Twin Towers collapsed and their husbands were killed. David Bauer, Ginny's husband of 21 years, was 45 and worked at eSpeed, a division of Cantor Fitzgerald. Lisa's husband, 40-year-old Ted Luckett, worked with David. Today, the two women are trying to get immediate financial help for all the victims' families by passing the Victims of Terrorism Tax Relief Act of 2001. Ginny Bauer, Lisa Luckett, good morning, and our condolences, first of all, to both of you.
Thank you.
This bill, which has been passed by the House, but so far not by the Senate, would give the victims' families back taxes from last year, in addition, exemption from this year's taxes. Why do you believe in this bill?
Well, I feel it's very important because so many of us victims are in a state right now that we sort of feel it's a financial limbo. There's a lot of what-ifs out there, and this is an opportunity for the government to directly help us. Our husbands were murdered. They were killed. And I feel that we have an obligation to simply reach out and say that the people in this country have been so wonderful in terms of charities and an enormous outpouring of support, and we're hoping that our government will provide the same relief that they give to people in the armed forces.
That's right. That's a very important point, that this exemption is allowed to families of people in the military who are killed in the line of duty. Do you agree with Ginny that your husband was killed in the line of kind of duty?
Yep, they were the first casualties of this war. So as we know it, that this relief would provide immediate assistance for all the victims' families. Ginny and I are among the lucky ones. We have these amazing support groups and lots of friends and family and people who've just been there with us. And we know that there are plenty of people who are having trouble getting out of bed still, most of us have little children. 80 or 90% of the women involved here have kids under 10 and 2 and 3, and many pregnancies. I mean, it's with the young man's business, therefore you've got young families involved.
Young families involved.
Absolutely.
You have 3 young children.
I have 3 young
The
children.
youngest is just 6 months old.
Yes.
And in addition to dealing with this emotional trauma and dealing with their feelings, are you also having, or do you see families like yourselves worrying then about having to worry about the economics of this? To what degree are these families hurting? Are you hurting perhaps economically because of your husband's
it's
death?
simply the unknown. I mean, there's just so many financial what-ifs. And as Lisa said, we're one of the lucky ones, and we don't feel too lucky today. But there are many people who do not know how they're going to pay their mortgages. They don't know how they're going to provide for their families.
Are they months, weeks, years off from this problem, or is it an immediate problem now?
In many cases, it's immediate. But I think with some tax relief, which is equitable, It's simply what you've paid, you would then receive. It would give many people at least a year for the dust to settle.
But does this indicate a lack of faith in the charities that have been raised already millions of dollars? There are some controversies, for example, with the American Red Cross and the controversy that's brewing about the charity from Hollywood, the big fundraiser, televised fundraiser. I mean, is this a lack of faith to some degree, Lisa?
No.
The charities have done a good job. They're doing the best they can under huge pressure. The federal government really can step in because it is immediate action. Everyone knows what those numbers will be, and they can look at their tax returns from last year. They know what they've paid in this year, and it will take care of, but it's a lump sum of money that could be theoretically invested or put up against further loans in the future.
Okay,
it can take care of people.
So if it's such a great idea, and there does seem to be little opposition, what's the holdup?
That's what we're wondering. We don't know.
We don't know.
We're hopeful that, I think it's just recognition and awareness. And we're hoping that we're pleading with our senators to please pay attention to this and have it not be caught up with other legislation that could possibly prevent this from helping us right this minute. New Jersey Senators Corzine and Torricelli have been very, very helpful and very supportive.
What do you say to the other senators? What do you say to the other senators who may be listening this morning?
We're pleading with them to please pay attention to this. And we are confident that they feel the importance that it will be done, but we're asking them to do it right now, just for that financial sigh, that we can then move on and deal with a lot of other emotional issues, knowing that at least for the short term or the immediate term, our finances can be a little more stable.
Taking some of the pain away.
Yeah.
Right.
I just want to say, too, I think so many people have been, it has been unbelievable, the outreach and the love and the support from every corner of the world that has come into all of us. And people are constantly asking us, what can we do? What can we do? What they can do is they can pick up the phone and call their senators in California, in Nebraska, across the country, because this is not just an East Coast issue. And it has gotten a little cooler, so.
On that note, we have to leave it. Lisa Luckett, thank you so much, and Jenny Bauer, thank you so much, and best to you in your grieving for your husband.
Thank you.
Now here's Al.
Thanks, Ann. Air traffic had already decreased about 10 to 20% since the attacks on September 11th. Well, after Monday's crash, there's probably going to be even fewer people flying over the holiday season. Today's travel editor, Peter Greenberg, is here to tell us how he thinks all this is going to affect your upcoming travel plans. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning, Al.
Okay, so this happens. What has there been a lot of cancellations that you've heard about since this happened on Monday?
There have been some immediate cancellations. Sure, there have been some immediate cancellations on American Airlines reservations, but other airlines are not reporting those kind of cancellations. We have to go back and take a look at the AAA figures from last week showing that travel in the air for the coming weeks is going to be down about 27%. That's already a significant drop. But the key here is not leisure travel, Al. It's the business traveler. That's what's going to make or break it for the airlines. And that's what everybody's waiting to see what's going to happen based on the investigation and what is determined to happen on this particular crash.
Well, talking about cancellation, what's American's cancellation policy?
What American has said right now is that if you're holding tickets between November 12th and the 15th, they'll give you a full refund, no penalties or fees, or you can extend your trip till February 14th with no penalties or fees. If you're holding a ticket between November 16th and December 31st, they will also allow you to extend your trip through February 14th with no cancellation penalties or fees, or they will give you a travel voucher for the equivalent of what you paid for that ticket for future travel.
Now, you mentioned the business traveler. Do you think this is going to affect business travel?
Well, right now, business travel hasn't dropped off any further based on the people that I've talked to. They're still waiting to hear back from the NTSB. If, in fact, this is a mechanical problem of catastrophic nature, I don't think it's going to impact business travel that much. However, if it's not, then it's anybody's guess.
If it is mechanical failure, what do you think it's going to mean for leisure travel?
Well, there's an immediate knee-jerk reaction there as well. People are afraid to fly. But remember, people have to remember that the odds are so overwhelmingly in their favor that in fact, when you take a look at the irony of this, what that figure of the AAA saying that 27% of Americans, or fewer of them, are going to travel over Thanksgiving by air, but they're going to drive, they're at greater risk. So I think people need to take a deep breath here, wait for the report, which, by the way, is probably going to happen quickly because they're getting very good data, and hopefully we'll get an answer by the end of this week. Take a good deep breath and then put it in perspective and get back and fly.
Now, do you think you're going to see airlines doing some deep discounting to try to get people back into those seats and flying?
Well, the problem now is they've already done the deep discounting and it hasn't stimulated traffic. When you can fly nonstop from New York to London round trip for less than a one-way ticket on the New York to Washington shuttle. You can't get any deeper discounting than that, and it hasn't generated traffic. You've got to go one step beyond that, which predates what happened yesterday. It's whether or not there's enough adequate security, whether people feel confident about the security, let alone the safety.
Now, you had mentioned that there might be some people who, this holiday season, they're looking for an excuse to get away from the dysfunctional family. They may use the bin Laden excuse.
I have so many of my friends who are saying, oh my God, I can't go to Des Moines, there could be terrorist cells there. They're really not wanting to go see their, demented Uncle Lenny. But you know what? The same people who said they didn't want to travel over Thanksgiving are definitely thinking about traveling after Thanksgiving, and that's a key for leisure travel. There will be more travel coming up in December, especially if this particular incident yesterday is determined to be a mechanical failure.
All righty, Peter Greenberg, as always, thanks a lot. Okay, now here's Katie.
All right, Al, the bin Laden excuse? That's the new one.
That's what Peter was talking about,
Okay.
the bin Laden.
All right, Al, thank you very much. Anyway, that does it for us on this Tuesday morning for up-to-the-minute coverage of the crash of American Airlines Flight 587 and its aftermath. You can, of course, check out our website at today.msnbc.com, and, of course, you can tune into MSNBC on cable as well. Matt will be back in the studio tomorrow. We'll see you then. Have a good day, everybody.
Go to Amazon.com/NBC to find books from authors that have appeared on The Today Show and lots of other great books on Amazon.com/NBC.
Today is a presentation of NBC News. More Americans watch NBC News than any other news organization in the world.
On another incredible Dateline Tuesday, what you're seeing is a real exorcism. And whether you believe it or not, it's like nothing you've ever seen before. Yeah! Witness to an exorcism on all new Dateline tonight at 10, 9 Central on NBC.
We were married 11 years, July 27th, and he passed away August 4th. And we spent that time in the hospital, our anniversary, and he got really upset with me because I was sort of flirting with him, as we always did, but he grabbed hold of his face and started to cry. And he said, I don't know how you can love me the way I look. I can't believe that he's gone.
An evening in front of the fireplace can be so relaxing, but each year there are thousands of reported chimney fires. Protect your home with CSL, the chimney sweeping log. It cleans your chimney while it burns. Inside your chimney walls, there's a constant buildup of highly flammable tar and creosote. The active minerals in CSL will dry out those dangerous deposits. Most of this dry, brittle material will then flake off harmlessly, making your next fires safer. So effective, burn it only once a year. CSL, the chimney sweeping log.
Available at Kmart, Long's, Bi-Mart, and Walgreens.
More channels, more choice than cable. Call toll-free.
1-877-SELL-NOW.
No equipment to buy, free installation.
Call 1-877-SELL-NOW.
More movies, more sports, more news. Even your locals. More channels, more choice.
1-877-SELL-NOW.
Activation includes first month's digital programming of your choice, plus a second receiver.
Watch different programs on a second TV.
Call toll-free.
1-877-SELL-NOW.
A portable cellular and satellite.
This is a News Channel 8 update.
Good morning, I'm Brenda Braxton, live in the KGW newsroom. The early information about the cause of yesterday's American Airlines crash in New York points strongly to mechanical failure. That's according to investigators. This morning, they're studying the cockpit voice recorder. Today on News Channel 8 at noon, we'll have the latest word from transportation officials. The gunfire heard in Kabul today is not from battle. It's part of the Northern Alliance celebration. Opposition forces captured the capital city and met little resistance when they rolled into town. We'll have the latest on the Taliban troops today at noon. Also coming up, the sluggish economy and increased security following the 9/11 attacks are taking their toll on one of the biggest high-tech trade shows out there. See how Comdex is coping. Plus, got milk? Find out why researchers say drinking milk may help prevent a certain type of cancer. We'll have all that and much more today at noon. We will also check the forecast coming up today at noon, and we can tell you that there is a big storm heading our way. By noon, we should be seeing heavy rain. However, by 5 or 6 o'clock tonight, Dave Selesky says the wind will kick up. He'll join us with all the latest details coming up at noon. We hope to see you then. Have a good morning.
Superstar Barry Manilow, Philly's Kim Delaney, plus it's Help Wanted Makeover Week. Next live.
Today at 11.